Chapter 902. That's right, the first side of the Rubik's Cube was about the Legion of Doom. There were a few maps on it that were relatively incomplete. The rest were all words. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but read the words left by Wu Yuming. It wrote, "First of all, the division of labor in the Temple of Annihilation is very, very detailed. For example, Dongli, Netherworld, and I are all the adopted sons of the Demon King. But between us, we barely communicate with each other and do our own jobs. In fact, we don't even know how we came to be in this world. So, regarding the Legion of Doom, I can only rely on guesses. First of all, the establishment of the Legion of Doom started about 100 years ago. And the main force of the Legion of Doom should be the barbarians in the world of ice and snow. You said that there will be a total of 20 to 30 million Legion of Doom because there are only so many Maori barbarians in the world of ice and snow. This is wrong because the Legion of Doom is not just a generation of Maori barbarians, but more than 100 years. So this number could be 5 or 6 times. Reading this, Yang Dingtian suddenly felt his hair stand on end. 5 or 6 times, that means there are more than 100 million Maori barbarians. More than 100 million Legion of Doom? Then, Yang Dingtian continued reading. Moreover, the Legion of Doom should not only consist of the Maori barbarians, but also some ancient races that haven't gone extinct. Of course, this is only my guess. A more detailed guess is that it might be an underwater race or an underground race. As for the direction of the Legion of Doom's main force formed by the Maori barbarians, I have thought for a long time. It should be energy transformation. When you fought with Ning Wuming, you used the Blood-Eye Demonic Army. This army is very, very powerful. If you didn't use the special venom attack, I'm afraid that Cloud Sky City would have been completely wiped out in that battle. And the energy transformation of the Legion of Doom should be in this direction, but the level is much higher. It is very likely that this army is completely invulnerable. Even your cannons can't hurt them at all. Of course, because I'm not sure myself, I can't say too much, lest I lead you astray. But there's one thing I'm sure of. The Legion of Doom will definitely take the path of energy. Energy transformation, Yang Dingtian firmly remembered this phrase. Then he continued to read. And the most important thing was, where exactly was the Armageddon Legion built? I've thought about this for a long time. None of them could get an answer, but one thing was for sure. In order to transform this astronomical number of Maori barbarians into energy, it would require a very, very large amount of energy. Therefore, that place would definitely die very quickly. Yes, that continent, or that space, would definitely die very, very quickly. That's why I've been paying attention to this question when I've been traveling around the world. Which world dies the fastest? I chose many places, including the Dongli grasslands, the Ghost Hell region, and the extreme south. In the end, my gaze landed on a place, the River of Ecstasy. Yang Dingun was shocked. The River of Ecstasy, that's right, the River of Ecstasy. The water in this river is completely the color of blood. Any life that enters it will immediately be corroded until nothing is left. It has even completely polluted the continent for thousands of miles, all the way to the Poison Strait. The seawater is highly toxic. Wu Yoming's record continued. The source of the River of Ecstasy has 2 places. One is the Demon Domain, the other is the Yin-Yang Mirror. These 2 worlds were already completely dead worlds, and they were still spreading. Therefore, my guess for the Legion of Doom is to follow the River of Ecstasy, go against the current, and find the true source. Perhaps there will be some gains. That place might be hiding hundreds of millions of Legion of Doom, hiding the core of the Empire of Darkness that the Temple of Annihilation spent 100 years building. On the first page, the records of the Armageddon Legion had come to an end. Wu Yuming was very amazing. His description was very precise, and there were almost no vague concepts. He pointed out the 2 most important points of the Legion of Doom. One was the energy transformation, and the other was to go against the current of the River of Ecstasy to find the core of the Legion of Doom, the Temple of Annihilation's Empire of Darkness. Yang Dingtian put down the deep shock in his heart and looked at the second record. The second record was about the Xian Vein Essence and Sea Spirit Crystal that Yang Dingtian needed to cultivate his sword's soul. It wrote, "First of all, what are Xian vein essence and sea spirit crystal? Xian vein essence is not an object, but a kind of energy life form. Actually, it's more accurate to call it earth vein. It grows in places where the energy of the earth, the two moons, and the two suns are the densest. Of course, this does not mean that it will be on the ground. In fact, it is often in the depths of the earth. The reason is when the earth, the two moons, and the two suns intersect, the entire huge continent or the ocean is the energy receiver. Then, when the energy is to be transported to the earth's core, there are some obstacles in the middle because of some reasons, so this kind of earth vein is born, allowing the continent or the ocean to have a better energy connection with the earth's core. So, this is Xian vein essence. It is because of this that Xian vein essence can be placed into the soul sword and become the sword's Xian vein. And the sea spirit crystal is the soul sword's Qi Si. I used to think that it was some kind of energy crystal, or some kind of demon beast's demon core. Later on, I studied it for a long time and found that it is not, it is actually the essence of the Qi Si. Seeing this, Yang Dingtian could not help but be puzzled, so he continued to read. Wu Yuming continued to record, "We all know that the Qi Si is empty, it is a separate energy world, it does not exist in the material world. However, when one's cultivation reaches a certain level, it will undergo a qualitative change, but it will still be an energy body. And when a person dies, the Qi Si will dissipate very quickly, so it will not undergo a qualitative change. So, I boldly guessed that during the ancient times when the world was annihilated, in an instant the world was turned upside down, and the energy changed drastically. It caused some top experts to die in an instant. But before the Qi Si could dissipate, it was sealed and squeezed by some incomparably powerful energy. So, this energy body condensed from the energy body, but without the main body, it became a separate Qi Si. So, according to my bold guess, the so-called sea spirit crystal should be the fossil of the Qi Si. After reading up to this point, Yang Dingtian was completely amazed. Many people knew about Xian vein essence and sea spirit crystal. But very few people cared about what they were, how did they come about? They only knew that the last two things needed to forge a soul sword were them. One was the Xian vein of the soul sword, the other was the Qi Si of the soul sword. Wu Yuming was the only one who could explain them so thoroughly. Regarding the Xian vein essence, he was very, very sure. He was completely sure. And regarding the sea spirit crystal, he said that he was making a bold guess, but in fact, Yang Dingtian felt that it was basically like this, and the accuracy was at least more than 90%. Then, Wu Yuming wrote, "But it's a pity, because I can't cultivate a sword spirit, so I didn't look for the Xian vein essence and sea spirit crystal in the previous years, so I can't give you the specific location. But I can mark the approximate location of a few Xian vein essence according to my own theory, and some experts with sword spirit have also brought these places, which proves my theory even more. The first place with Xian vein essence, yin-yang mirror. The entire yin-yang mirror had become a very special environment, like a huge mirror, swallowing the energy of the two moons and two suns, which was incomparably huge. So, it created a very special energy environment. Of course, there used to be a Xian vein essence here, but it had already been taken by Dongfang Bingling. But the 10,000 miles yin-yang mirror shouldn't only have one Xian vein essence, or even 3 or 4, but more. The second place with Xian vein essence, Ghost Hell region. Ghost Hell region, this is the ultimate yin plane, so it swallows the energy of the two moons and repels the energy of the two suns, creating a very strange energy environment, so the possibility of Xian vein essence being produced is very high. The third place with Xian vein essence, World of Ice and Snow. World of Ice and Snow, tens of thousands of miles of ice and snow, is also a very special and strange energy environment. And in history, this place wasn't a world of ice and snow, because it was forcefully torn apart by the energy of the Great Calamity. So, the possibility of Xian vein essence being produced here is also not small. The fourth place, extreme south, where the desert and ice intersect. This place is very special, because the desert and ice on this continent are either extremely hot or extremely cold. So, this continent's energy environment is very special. But, according to historical records, I didn't find a situation where the earth was torn apart, and when the great calamity happened, it didn't seem to affect this place. So, I only have some suspicions about this area, but the probability of Xian vein essence is not very high. Of course, there are other places where, according to my theory, Xian vein essence may exist. But the probability is already not high, and even if it exists, there aren't many, so it's very difficult to find. The content about Xian vein essence ended. Next, the content about sea spirit crystals was relatively short. It wrote, sea spirit crystals, according to my bold theory, were formed by the great calamity of the ancient times, which caused the essence of the chi sea of the strong to become energy fossils. Then, its existence had a very, very strong element of chance. We can only go to the place where the Earth's reaction was the most intense during the great calamity of the ancient times. And those places are basically not in the human countries, so the amount of sea spirit crystals found in the human countries is very little and much more precious than Xian vein essence. I think that in the dark realm or other planes, there should be more surprises. Of course, there is actually another place, and that is the underwater world, where the possibility of sea spirit crystals existing is even higher. At that time, the underwater races generally had martial cultivation that surpassed humans. And at that time, during the Great Calamity, the underwater world was the place with the most intense reaction. So in the underwater world, especially the ruins of the ancient underwater civilization, the probability of finding sea spirit crystals is much higher. The content about Xian vein essence and sea spirit crystals on the second page ended. Yang Dingan turned to the third page, and there were only a few words on it. Kill vulture. Seeing these words, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but tremble. It wrote, first of all, I don't hate vulture. Although her nature is very bad, her heart is also inclined to evil. However, because no one guided her to good, it made her become worse and worse, and I am one of the main culprits. Moreover, the current vulture is basically unable to be saved. Her heart has completely fallen into darkness. Of course, even so, I have never thought of killing her. Because, in fact, I don't have much to do with it. Darkness is still light, in many, many times. However, recently I learned that Dongli and Mudan were bestowing second-grade evil spirits to many people, but only Vulture was not bestowed. It was not strange that Wolingzi was not given, because he already had the netherworld ghost fire of immortality. If he was given a second-grade evil spirit, he would be immortal and immortal. Moreover, because of the netherworld ghost fire, he had devoured countless undead energy, and his cultivation had reached an incomparably terrifying level. If he were to give the evil spirit energy, Wolingzi's strength would be unstoppable. Moreover, the current Wolingzi was very greedy for life and afraid of death, so he was very easy to control. However, once he had the evil spirit, he would be completely immortal, and his temperament would definitely change greatly, becoming extremely arrogant and extremely murderous. And at that time, the first person he would kill might be you. And you, Yang Dingtian, absolutely cannot die now, so it was not surprising that the second-grade evil spirit was not given to Wolingzi. However, it was very strange that the second-grade evil spirit was not given to Vulture. Her talent as a celestial spirit master was 1 in a billion, and it was very amazing. Moreover, the evil in her heart and the hostile relationship between you and her can no longer be reversed. Therefore, she was the best candidate to bestow a second-grade evil spirit. However, why was the second-grade evil spirit not given to her? The only possibility was that it was because of her celestial spirit master talent. If it was given to a second-grade evil spirit, it would destroy her celestial spirit master talent. Therefore, I boldly associated her with the World Extermination Army. Once the World Extermination Army was completely energized, and a celestial spirit master could summon all energy bodies, then it meant that the energized World Extermination Army was completely immortal and immortal. Once Vulture was strong to a certain extent, then the consequences would be unimaginable. Reading up to this point, Yang Dingtian suddenly shuddered. If it was really as Wu Yuming said, then the consequences would really be very, very shocking. Such a terrifying consequence? Yang Dingnan did not dare to imagine it at all. In that case, killing Spirit Vulture might be the only choice. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian had a strong impulse to immediately kill Vulture. Next was the fourth side of the Rubik's Cube, which wrote, "About the Demon King Wendian." Seeing these words, Yang Dingtian's heart could not help but tremble. The Rubik's Cube left by Wu Yuming was indeed incomparably important. Every piece of information was fatal. They were all top secrets in this world. Yang Dingtian could not help but continue reading. It wrote, "The Demon King Wendian, who is also my creator and adoptive father. I have never seen him, but I feel his presence all the time. In the last World Extermination War, he understood the truth of the God of Chaos. After discovering the evil spirit energy, he immediately feigned death and was defeated. And after several hundred years of planning, first, he knew the soul doppelganger technique. He divided his soul into several parts. As for how many parts there are, I do not know. First, there is one in the Underworld Empire, one in the Little Western Paradise, and he will definitely explore the Dark Realm to find the ruins of the Naga Empire. This soul is the most important, so it is very likely to be the main body of the soul. There is a rumor that if one obtains the Void Splitter Fire, one can obtain the treasures of the Naga Empire. Therefore, this doppelganger should have the Void Splitter Fire." Reading until here, Yang Dingtian was even more amazed. Wu Yuming was really amazing. Everything was based on guesses, but they were so accurate. The one who went to explore the Dark Realm to find the ruins of the Naga Empire was Wentian's main body, and he had the Void Splitter Fire. Following which, Yang Dingtian continued reading. The content wrote, "Secondly, the mission of the Demon King's dead concubine was to revive the Demon King Wendian. Regarding this point, I have always been doubtful. First, Wentian's body must have been destroyed in the last World Extermination War. If he had the original evil spirit at that time, then his heart, Shen Meridians, and Qi Si should be complete. Therefore, he could find another body to take over. And from the looks of it, the original evil spirit was divided into two parts. He gave one half to the Devil Queen, which is the Void Piao Ling. Then, at least the other half is still in his body. Therefore, I strongly suspect that his main body is not dead at all. Instead, he has taken over another person's body and has always been in the human countries. But why doesn't he appear? I have no idea." When he saw this, Yang Dingtian's body had already started to tremble and tremble. This news was really too shocking. The Demon King Wentian's main body is not dead, but he has taken over another person's body? And he is still in the human countries? What kind of shocking news is this? If this is the case, why doesn't he appear? Why does he let Li Ming run around? If he has taken over another person's body, then who is this person? Yang Dingtian suddenly felt that the entire world around him seemed to have turned dark. The Demon King Wentian's eyes seemed to be looking at him from somewhere, sneering and laughing. On the fourth side, the content about the Demon King Wendian was all over. He told Yang Dingtian the most important content. When the Demon King was destroyed, his body was protected by the evil spirit, so he could take over another person's body at any time. Therefore, he could still be alive in the human countries, and he could be anyone. Yang Dingtian could not continue to read the content of the fifth side. He desperately suppressed the shock in his heart and continued to turn to the fifth side of the Rubik's Cube. With just a glance, Yang Dingtian was shocked again. The content of the fifth side was about Shimin Ningning and Naga. It wrote, "In this world, of all the people I have met, the most mysterious one is not the Demon King Wendian, nor is it Li Ming or the Void Piao Ling, but Shimin Ningning. I strongly suspect that she is a descendant of Naga. You also know the reason. When she knew that you were injured, she transformed in anger and slaughtered thousands of people at once. Moreover, you killed the Millennium Owl and Ning Wuming's Blood Eye Demon Army. I predict that it is very likely that it is the Deep Sea Shen poison. Moreover, when Shimin Ningning slaughtered, her whole body was dark green. According to the records, some strange scales once appeared on her neck. Of course, before she finished transforming, she immediately disappeared without a trace. Of course, you may know more about Shimin Ningning than I do. And a large part of the reason why I suspect that she is Naga comes from you. I have read the information about you and her. Your love for her, or more accurately, her feelings for you, were very, very sudden. At that time, you were not outstanding, and you were not a man who could make people fall in love at first sight. So why did Shimaningning fall in love with you at first sight? At first, I had no idea at all. Later, I learned that you can make the Naga tribe go into heat, and you are the only human in this world who can make the Naga tribe and the Fox tribe of Little Western Paradise go into heat. Then, I speculated that Shimaningning fell in love with you at first sight because she is not a human. So, I boldly guessed that she is a descendant of Naga. The Naga of this world has not been destroyed. There is still at least 1 or 2 Naga left. Then, I made an even bolder guess. The Demon King Wentian's strength and the evil energy that the Demon King Wentian found are all related to Naga. When he saw this, Yang Dingtian was truly dumbfounded. Regarding Shimaningning's matter, Yang Dingtian had gone through a lot of facts and speculated that she was a descendant of Naga. Moreover, her father or mother was the survivor who escaped from the Naga Empire. However, Yang Dingtian had never connected the Demon King Wentian with Naga. Now that Wu Yuming pointed it out, Yang Dingtian was really awakened. The possibility of this happening was very real. The god of chaos would not let go of the Naga that escaped. The Demon King Wentian wanted to perish together with the god of chaos. The two of them had a common interest. Wu Yuming continued to write, "If my guess is true, Shimaningning is really a descendant of Naga, then there is really a Naga in this world, and he is the backer of the Demon King Wentian. Then where is he? To solve the evil spirit, perhaps the key is not Wentian, but the surviving Naga." Unfortunately, I thought about this point too late and did not have time to explore this world again, so I really do not know where this surviving Naga is. However, Shimaningning loves you very much, so this is an opportunity. Perhaps, this is also one of the biggest opportunities for you to save the world. The 5th page, the content about Shimaningning and the surviving Naga, ended. Yang Dingtian's heart was deeply immersed in the memories of Shimaningning. Her face was already a little blurred, but her incomparably gentle eyes were incomparably clear. The information on this Rubik's Cube was really too fatal. The 1st page, the secret about the World Extermination Army, was already shocking enough. Who knew that each page would be more shocking and more important than the last? Soon he would turn to the last page. Yang Dingtian really did not dare to imagine what the last page of the Rubik's Cube would be, but without a doubt, it would be the most important content in this world. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian turned to the last page. Then he was completely stunned by the content. The number 1 mysterious flame in the world, the chaotic spirit flame. The god of chaos. Yang Dingtian continued to feel suffocated. The last page of the Rubik's Cube was indeed the most shocking content. Chapter 903. Chaos Spirit Flame, the number 1 mystic flame in the world. Yang Dingtian had seen how powerful a heaven and earth mystic flame was. Was the million-spirit demonic flame heaven-defying enough? It was heaven-defying but not as powerful as the demon spirit demonic flame. The demon spirit demonic flame could release energy shields, immobilize the body, and create mystic flame lightning. When it came to the void-splitting flame, it had already surpassed the mystic flame. It could open the world of darkness, travel through the border of the abyss, pass through the 3rd dark realm, and so on. Furthermore, when it was added to any mystic flame, its power would multiply. In short, the void-splitting flame was already a very special form of energy. Then, how terrifying was the number 1 mystic flame, the chaos spirit flame? How heaven-defying was it? Yang Dingtian could not imagine it at all. The content on the 6th page of the Rubik's Cube was rather sparse. Firstly, it was about the number 1 mystic flame, the chaos spirit flame. It wrote, "Regarding the chaos spirit flame, it was completely out of my imagination, and even an extremely exaggerated imagination." What was it like? Where was it? I had many, many imaginations. My first thought was that it might be related to the evil spirit energy, because its energy level was higher than the void-splitting flame. Then what kind of energy was higher than the void-splitting flame? Maybe the evil spirit energy was one of them? My second thought was that it might be related to the darkness mystic flame. That's right, when I discovered the darkness mystic flame, I was extremely excited and felt that I had found the ultimate energy. But later on, I gave up on these fantasies. Because whether it was the evil spirit energy or the darkness mystic flame, they did not seem to be at the level of the chaos spirit flame. So, I used all my courage to think about it. Is the chaos spirit flame the fire seed of the entire chaos world? How is it related to the fallen black dragon? How is it related to the fallen silver dragon? The more I thought about it, the more I thought about it, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought about it. I could not find an answer to this question. But I feel that if you want to unravel the secret of the chaos spirit flame, you have to go to the Forbidden Continent's illusory realm. Because that place is the evolution history of the entire chaos world. There, you can clearly see how the world came into being from nothing, and how energy came into being from nothing. Therefore, I feel that in the Taboo Continent's illusory realm, in the past tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of millions of years, we can find the secret of the chaos spirit flame, the secret of the chaos world's martial arts civilization. Then, the description of the first profound flame, the chaos spirit flame, ended. Of course, regarding the number 1 mysterious flame, Wu Yuming did not give any definite answer. This was because no one in this world had ever obtained the chaos spirit flame, and there was no information about it. In fact, the records of the various civilizations were very vague about the chaos spirit flame. It was completely based on one's imagination. Many people even felt that the existence of the primal chaos spirit flame was a problem. Wu Yoming's research on the chaos spirit flame could be considered to be very, very far ahead. In fact, when Yang Dingtian was in the library of the Western Paradise Silver Palace, he saw many of the demon fox race's scholars describing the chaos spirit flame. Their way of thinking was quite similar to Wu Yuming. After that, there were even fewer descriptions of the god of chaos. In fact, the concept of the god of chaos was first proposed by the demon king Wenin. Even in the library of Little Western Paradise, there were almost no books on the so-called god of chaos. No matter how smart Wu Yuming was, it was difficult for her to think too much. Therefore, under the god of chaos, there was a huge blank space. After that, there was only one paragraph written. Looking for traces of the god of chaos? Is it in the celestial Red Sea? Or is it at the end of the dark realm? After writing, Wu Yuming used more than a dozen question marks in succession to express her absolute doubts. She wanted to show that her words were completely imaginary. Half of this idea was very similar to Yang Dingtian's. That was the end of the dark realm. Yang Dingtian had been to the dark realm, to the continent that was completely dead, to the endless dark realm where the gravity was getting stronger and stronger. There was an incomparably tall mountain there. It might be a few hundred miles, a few thousand miles, or even tens of thousands of miles tall. Yang Dingtian felt that if he wanted to find the god of chaos, he should be at the top of that mountain. This was Yang Dingtian's most instinctive idea. However, it was impossible to go to that mountain now. Even if he broke through the saint level, it was impossible to go there. Because before he reached there, it would have completely collapsed. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, or tens of millions of times of gravity would directly turn him into ashes. And Wu Yuming actually proposed another idea. Could the traces of the god of chaos be found in the celestial Red Sea? Yang Dingtian had been to the celestial Red Sea before. There was a temple there. In the temple lived a Saint Tantai, the so-called border guardian. She was very, very powerful. According to Yang Dingtian's imagination, she must have broken through the saint level. She couldn't even be described as a saint level. But Saint Tantai said that there was more than one border guardian in this world. There were several. However, Yang Dingtian had been to many border guardians in the world. But he didn't see a second border guardian. So these border guardians didn't want to see Yang Dingtian, or Tantai was lying. She wasn't a border guardian at all. There were no border guardians in this world. If she wasn't the so-called border guardian, then who was she? The contents of the first 5 sides of the Rubik's Cube had completely enlightened Yang Dingtian. After reading the contents of the 6th side, Yang Dingtian was completely confused, or even more confused. However, this was how it should be. Whether it was the chaos spirit flame or the god of chaos, they were huge mysteries to everyone in the world. If Yang Dingtian wanted to know, there was probably only one way, and that was to ask Xu Wu Piaoyan in the 6th level of the pig-slaying swordsmanship. No one could surpass him in terms of the number of people who had explored this world the most. It took him a few hundred years to explore almost every place he could reach in this world. Then, Yang Dingtian quickly put the contents of the 6th side aside. Whether it was the chaos spirit flame or the god of chaos, they were too far away from him now. The problem he wanted to solve was the upcoming Doomsday battle and the Doomsday army. In fact, Yang Dingtian had two choices in front of him at this time. The first choice was to find the Xian vein essence and the sea spirit crystal, and cultivate the sword soul in the shortest time. Because he had a soul sword close to the emperor grade, and it already had the chaotic sword soul Cho. It could be said that as long as he had the Xian vein essence and the sea spirit crystal, the sword soul would directly appear. Not only that, there was also the soul of the Naga king in his sword, and it was something inside the energy. At that time, the energy of the Naga royalty first entered his brain, and then into his sword. So, as long as he could find the Xian vein essence and the sea spirit crystal, his fighting strength would definitely increase sharply. At present, Yang Dingtian's cultivation was already very difficult to break through, so cultivating the sword soul had become the most direct way to increase his fighting strength. The second choice was to find the Empire of Darkness that created the Legion of Doom. Very quickly, Yang Dingtian made his decision. The second choice was to explore the top secret space that created the Legion of Doom, the Empire of Darkness. First of all, know yourself and know your enemy, then you can win 100 battles. Regarding the Legion of Doom, Yang Dingtian's thoughts were still stuck at the previous World Extermination War, which was very dangerous. If not for Wu Yoming's reminder, Yang Dingtian might still be proud of his Council of Light Army's invincibility. That way, when the World Extermination War arrived, it might directly lead to a destructive ending. Wu Yoming's words were very right. Evil ways did not put the World Extermination War in their eyes, and also did not put the Council of Light Army in their eyes. If the World Extermination War was allowed to happen, then the only possible ending was that the Council of Light Army was completely annihilated, the human countries would lose hundreds of millions of lives, and the entire world would enter doomsday. Therefore, Yang Dingtian had to go to the Empire of Darkness that created the Legion of Doom. He had to understand the Legion of Doom, find a way to defeat the enemy, and even destroy the Empire of Darkness to prevent the outbreak of the World Extermination War. Time was very, very tight, and there were only 2 months left. According to Wu Yuming, Li Ming would start the World Extermination War regardless of whether he tricked Yang Dingtian to the Abyssal Sea or not. He had sent out so many invitations. In addition to attending a possible wedding, he could also witness the start of the World Extermination War and the Legion of Doom's swearing ceremony. Moreover, according to Wu Yuming, the place with the most mystic vein essence was the Yin-Yang Mirror. The Empire of Darkness space that created the Legion of Doom could also be in the Yin-Yang Mirror or the Demon Territory. Then, in the best-case scenario, Yang Dingtian could not only find the Empire of Darkness where the Legion of Doom was, but he could also find the mystic vein essence. Therefore, he had to go to the Demon Territory and the Yin-Yang Mirror as soon as possible to find the Empire of Darkness. However, before that, Yang Dingtian had to do one more thing, and that was to deal with Vulture. Wu Yuming had specifically mentioned on the 3rd page of the Rubik's Cube that he had to kill Vulture. Of course, killing Vulture was very simple and could be done easily. However, the problem was her great-grandfather, Wulingzi. Wu Yuming had also said that Wulingzi's cultivation might be very, very terrifying. He must not be fooled by his fear of death. Once Vulture was killed, it was basically touching Wulingzi's bottom line. He would definitely go crazy. Moreover, Li Ming must have already gone to the Vulture Palace. At this time, Wulingzi was showing his strong desire. He was afraid that he would take the initiative to find trouble with Yang Dingtian. If Vulture was killed at this time, Yang Dingtian could not guarantee that Wulingzi would not directly rush to the Council of Light and start a massacre. If this was the case, the consequences would be unimaginable. So, Was there any way to kill Vulture without causing Wulingzi's revenge? It was difficult, very difficult. First of all, Vulture could not die for no reason. Otherwise, Wulingzi would definitely blame Yang Dingtian. Then, the person who killed Vulture would either have a stronger background than Wulingzi or a stronger cultivation than Wulingzi. There were only a handful of such people in this world. Queen Hai Xian could barely be considered as one. Wu Yu in the Netherworld Sea could barely be considered as one. Then, it could only be someone from Little Western Paradise. Moreover, it could not be Yao Li or Bo Lu. They had already followed Yang Dingtian. Immediately after, a person quickly appeared in Yang Dingtian's mind. That's right, Ling Wu. Yang Dingtian had already accepted her. However, no one knew about this. In everyone's eyes, she was still Yang Dingtian's mortal enemy and Wu Yoming's younger sister. Therefore, Ling Wu's killing of Vulture would not involve the Council of Light. Moreover, Ling Wu completely had a reason to kill Vulture. This was because the relationship between the two of them was extremely bad. Vulture bullied Ling Wu in every possible way and humiliated her verbally. Secondly, Ling Wu was Wu Yoming's younger sister and Vulture was Wu Yoming's wife. She had betrayed Wu Yuming and remarried to Dongli. This was a great humiliation. Ling Wu completely had a reason to kill an unfaithful wife for her elder brother. Now, the crucial point was how to make Ling Wu kill Vulture. Yang Dingtian really found it hard to say. Logically speaking, he was the one who was taking care of Ling Wu. At this moment, Yang Dingtian no longer owed Ling Wu any kindness. On the contrary, Yang Dingtian owed Wu Yuming a lot. He did not have the qualifications to make Ling Wu do certain things. Also, after Ling Wu killed Vulture, would she face Wulingzi's crazy revenge? Ling Wu could withstand Wulingzi's revenge. Yang Dingtian was still thick-skinned enough to make Ling Wu kill Vulture. However, Yang Dingtian was still unable to make Ling Wu face Wulingzi's anger and revenge. Wu Yuming had entrusted Ling Wu to him. Yet he had turned around and put Ling Wu in danger. This was simply too unrighteous. Ling Wu, who had changed her name to Wu Yuling, always wore a blue mask from day to night. She did not see anyone and lived in her own castle. She was either meditating or playing chess. As for Yang Dingtian, he still had not found a way to kill Vulture. He did not speak to Ling Wu either. He had even decided to temporarily put aside the matter of Vulture and go to the Devil Domain and the Yin-Yang Mirror tomorrow to search for the profound vein essence and the Legion of Doom's Empire of Darkness. However, it was at this moment that the latest information came from the southern barbarian continent. The little princess of the Vulture Palace, Vulture, had created a sensational massacre in a new town of the Foxman race. Of course, this was not some meticulously planned plot. It was just a sudden incident. Previously, everyone from the Vulture Palace had holed up within the boundaries of the Vulture Palace. They did not dare to come out and find trouble with the Council of Light. However, after Li Ming's arrival, Wulingzi and Vulture had instantly become emboldened. Especially Vulture, she had frequently left the Vulture Palace and entered the territory of the Council of Light. After the army of the Council of Light had received orders from their superiors, they had also tried their best not to come into conflict with the Vulture Palace. This continued until one day, Vulture had led her servants and swaggered through the streets of a new town of the half-human race. After that, she had trampled on a vegetable garden that had just been planted and turned it into a mess. A young girl from the Foxman race could not help but reprimand her. After that, Vulture, who was in a violent rage and dissatisfaction, had directly cracked her entire face with a whip. The burly people of the Foxman race had begun to surround Vulture, wanting to capture her and bring her to the castle of the Council of Light. A conflict had broken out. Both parties had started to fight. In the end, they had used their swords and sabers. Blood had started to flow and people had started to die. In the end, all the half-human race in this town had been completely killed. There were close to 1,000 of them. Yang Dingtian had finally managed to cross space and expose the greater space technique to save the 1,000 of Foxman race. However, they had all been killed by Vulture. Chapter 904. In an instant, the anger in Yang Dingtian's heart couldn't be described with words. The half-humans who were killed did not die under the tyranny of the Snake People Empire, did not starve to death in the sacred valley, did not die in the great escape of hundreds of thousands of miles. In the end, after starting a new life, they died under the brutality of the vulture. Was there something wrong with the vulture woman's brain? Although Li Ming was already here, the evil ways had a backer. However, was there a need for her to be so eager to show her cruelty and stupidity? Originally, Yang Dingtian had decided to let the vulture go temporarily in order to avoid Willingzi's desperate actions. He did not expect that this stupid woman would directly cause such a tragedy. She had actually killed thousands of innocent people of the Council of Light. If Yang Dingtian did not give the people an explanation for this matter, then the whole new territory of the southern barbarian continent would be finished. It would mean that the Vulture Palace was still the supreme master of the southern barbarian continent and would still have the power to kill the people there. The authority of the Council of Light would be completely lost. At this moment, Yang Dingtian really wanted to skin the vulture alive. He did not say anything and directly rode the Demon Vulture King to the southern barbarian continent. Yang Dingtian rode the Demon Vulture King and flew at the fastest speed. In just half a day, he entered the airspace of the southern barbarian continent. At this moment, the square in front of the central castle of the southern barbarian Ming City was densely packed with countless people and warriors. They all waved the weapons in their hands and looked indignant as they angrily asked to fight. Moreover, there was an endless stream of people coming towards the central square. Currently, as the temporary first commander of the southern barbarian continent defense zone, Zhuo Qingqi and the second commander, Day by Day Bella, could not even suppress the extremely angry crowd. All warriors and people, you must believe in the Council of Light and sect leader Yang Dingtian. We will not let the innocent people's blood flow in vain. We will definitely make the Vulture Palace give us an explanation. Everyone, go back at ease. Those who need to train, those who need to do production, as long as the Supreme Commander and sect leader Yang Dingtian have any orders, I will inform you immediately, Zhuo Qingqi said loudly. Sect Master Zhuo, we're definitely not here to force the Radiant Congress, nor are we here to protest. We're just here to express our anger and will. Even if we have to fight the spiritual Vulture Palace to the end, we'll make them pay with their blood. Below, a Foxman race warrior shouted, "The blood of our Foxman race cannot be spilled in vain." That's right, the blood of the Foxman race cannot be spilled in vain. We must seek justice and fight to the end. Then, all of the people of the half-human race roar. The entire square was in an uproar. No one was willing to leave. They waited here for the Council of Light's highest decision. Moreover, more and more people were gathering in the square. If this matter was left unsettled, it would be an indescribable blow to the morale of the Council of Light. At this moment, someone pointed to the sky and said, "Look, it's sect leader Yang Dingtian." Instantly, the entire crowd was in an uproar. Everyone stood up and said excitedly, "Sect leader Yang, sect leader Yang." As for Zhuo Qingqi and Day by Day Bella, they heaved a long sigh of relief. However, they were immediately on tenterhooks again. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was not in a position to express his opinion, because once he did, there was no way to change or reverse it. Yang Dingtian landed in front of the castle and looked at the crowd in front of him. There were at least tens of thousands of people. Instantly, his face turned cold. What is the meaning of this? Don't tell me the Supreme Commander has nothing to do? Don't you have any training or production missions? As soon as he said this, the excited crowd was stunned. Then, the leader of the warriors said, "Sect leader Yang, we are here to express our will to fight. We want to seek justice for our innocent victims." Yang Dingtian said, "It's good to seek justice for the innocent. However, can production missions be stopped? Can military training be stopped?" Then, he looked at the warriors present. They were all elites of the Holy Valley Resistance Army. Haven't you all been integrated into the Second Army of the Council of Light's Southern Barbarian Continent Defense Zone? Did your commander agree to you coming here for a gathering? Are you disobeying orders? Yang Dingtian said coldly, "After you go back, you will be punished according to military law. Those who should be locked up will be punished with whipping." Instantly, the entire square was silent. Then a Foxman warrior said, "Sect leader Yang, we what?" Yang Dingtian said, Are you worried that the Council of Light will lose their authority and humiliate themselves? Will they turn this into a small matter? Don't worry too much. Go back and wait for the results. Then, Zhuaqingqi and day by day Bella came up and said in a low voice, Sect leader Dongfang, City Lord Qin and the other military members are coming from all over. They will be here in about 4 hours. Sect leader, please go in and wait. No need to wait for them. Yang Dingtian said, this matter is simple and straightforward. There is no need for a meeting. Just give the Vulture Palace an ultimatum. If they don't hand over the people, we will start a war. Then, Yang Dingtian rose into the air and flew toward the Vulture Palace. Zhuaqingqi said in a low voice, Sect leader, but the situation is different. Li Ming has returned and Wolingzi's aura is overwhelming. This matter is difficult to resolve. We really need to think about it at length. There is a saying, a lack of forbearance in small matters will spoil great plans. Yang Dingtian turned and said to Zhuaqingqi, Uncle Master Zhua, believe me. Although I am very angry, I am not impulsive. Then, Yang Dingtian rode on the demon eagle and flew toward the Vulture Palace. The people sitting in the square were shocked when they saw Yang Dingtian fly directly to the Vulture Palace without a word. Then they began to leave. Those who should go back to work, go back to work. Those who should go back to the barracks to receive punishment, go and receive punishment. Yang Dingtian arrived at the Vulture Palace and was quickly stopped by 4 crane riders. Halt! Yang Dingtian said, go in and report that Yang Dingtian of the Council of Light has come to visit. One of the crane riders said, Ancestor has ordered that no one from the Council of Light is allowed to enter the Vulture Palace. In his anger, Yang Dingtian did not bicker with the 4 of them. He directly used the Demon Spirit Demon Fire immobilization technique to immobilize the 4 of them and flew in. At this time, Wolingzi built another straw hut on the mountain peak that Yang Dingtian cut off. Yang Dingtian landed directly outside the straw hut and said loudly, Yang Dingtian of the Council of Light pays a visit to Wolingzi of the Vulture Palace. Yang Dingtian, you are not welcome here. Wolingzi said slowly, suppressing his anger. Yang Dingtian stepped into the straw hut and immediately saw the culprit, Vulture, beside Wolingzi. He went forward and sat down cross-legged. Vulture, why are you doing this? Yang Dingtian asked. No reason. Vulture turned around and said, the entire southern barbarian continent is the territory of the Vulture Palace. Anyone who offends me deserves to die. Besides, it's just a few half-human livestock. Yang Dingtian's face twitched and said, you are wrong. The Vulture Palace's territory is only the 3 Vulture Islands. The rest of the southern barbarian continent belongs to the Council of Light. It has never been the territory of the Vulture Palace. Vulture said, isn't it because you used despicable means to steal the territory that belongs to the Vulture Palace? Steal the southern barbarian continent? Yang Dingtian said, why didn't you do that before Li Ming returned? Instead, you came to seek my protection? Selling your body for glory? Vulture's beautiful face twitched and said, that was then and this is now. Yang Dingtian, your time of calling the wind and calling the rain is over. The world is unpredictable. Don't blame others for being too realistic. What he said was very good, but it was also very stupid. Yang Dingtian didn't bother about Ling Jiao anymore. Instead, he looked at Wu Lingzi and spoke unhurriedly, Wu Lingzi, hand over those 325 people who committed murder and hand them over to me for execution. Vulture ordered to kill but didn't kill with his own hands. According to the Council of Light's laws, he will be whipped 100 times and imprisoned for life. Wolingzi looked at Yang Dingtian and laughed. Yang Dingtian, you always like to tell jokes that aren't funny. You don't have much time left. Don't try to bluff with me. Yang Dingtian said, you must think that Li Ming has returned and that you have the Legion of Doom as your backing. That's why you are so fearless, right? Wolingzi's complexion instantly turned unsightly. He had always hated it when people said that he was relying on others. Immediately, he spoke in a cold voice, Yang Dingtian, if you have the ability, use your martial strength to take the spirit vulture away from me. Otherwise, disappear from my sight. Talking glibly is the behavior of an incompetent person. I'll repeat myself. Yang Dingtian said word by word, hand over the 325 people who committed murder and vulture. Otherwise, you will bear the consequences. What consequences? I want to hear about it, Wolingzi said. I will raze the vulture palace to the ground and kill everyone in the vulture palace, Yang Dingtian said. Ha ha. Wolingzi laughed crazily. Prince Li Ming is in the human countries. The invincible Legion of Doom is waiting to attack. You tell me that you want to raze the vulture palace to the ground? You actually said that you want to raze the vulture palace to the ground. Ridiculous, the most ridiculous thing in the world. I've already warned you. Don't blame me for not warning you, Yang Dingtian said, then got up and left. Vulture's cold laughter came from behind. Yang Dingtian, if you don't come, I will be very disappointed. Yang Dingtian returned to the headquarters of the Southern Barbarian Continent Defense District, Southern Barbarian Ming City, which was the old site of the Queen's new city. At this time, the higher-ups of the Council of Light had all gathered in the Defense District Commander's castle, waiting for the highest-level meeting to deal with this sudden incident. After Yang Dingtian entered the meeting room, he directly ordered, prepare all the giant long-range cannons, giant missile troops, and the Blazing Sky Legion. If the Vulture Palace does not hand over the Vulture and the murderer within 3 days, we will completely destroy the Vulture Palace territory. When these words came out, the expressions of everyone present changed. Dongfang Minmi said, Sect Master, if this is the case, Wolingzi will be driven to desperation and will bring immeasurable losses to the Council of Light. Yang Dingun said, Don't worry, he won't. Qin Wanchou said, Now, he is relying on Prince Li Ming and is extremely arrogant. If we touch the Vulture Palace, he will definitely launch a deadly counterattack. Yang Dinggun said, Believe me, it is precisely because Li Ming is here that he cannot counterattack. Then, he said with a serious and apologetic expression, I am sorry, everyone. I will make the decision on this matter. Following Yang Dingtian's order, all the demon vultures, all the large aerial legions, and all the demon dragons of the Council of Light in the Southern Barbarian Continent were mobilized. The entire war machine of the Southern Barbarian Continent was moving quickly. Hundreds of large warships also immediately approached the sea area closest to the Vulture Palace. Countless giant cannons were all transported to the plains east of the Vulture Palace. In just 2 days, the destructive military forces of the Council of Light had already arrived at the city. They all arrived at the plains east of the Vulture Palace, facing the Vulture Palace across the water. The Vulture Palace originally had an unparalleled geographical advantage. It was an inland island surrounded by an inland sea. This inland sea, which was dozens of miles wide, became the first line of defense for the Vulture Palace. Outside the inland sea, there was a dense primeval forest. It was shrouded in thick fog all year round. A total of 200,000 Black Vulture troops were stationed in the primeval forest and the thick fog. Any force that wanted to enter the Vulture Palace had to pass through the thick fog and the defensive line of hundreds of thousands of Black Vultures. Therefore, the Vulture Palace was completely a dead end. No army could break through this astonishing three-dimensional defensive line. But now, almost all of the 200,000 Black Vulture troops had defected to the Council of Light. They had all been reorganized and entered the Council of Light's aerial legions. Most of them had even been transferred to other defensive areas. The primeval forest outside the Vulture Palace had been completely cut down by the Council of Light in the past few months. It had become a vast plain without any shelter. Moreover, many castles and defensive lines would soon appear here, completely surrounding the Vulture Palace. Therefore, the inland sea was the only line of defense left outside the Vulture Palace. The inland sea, which was only dozens of miles wide, surrounded the 3 islands of the Vulture Palace. The army of the Council of Light was on the plain to the east of the inland sea. It was only about 30 miles away from the Vulture Palace. This time, the Council of Light had dispatched hundreds of warships to the 2 sides of the sea. Hundreds of thousands of aerial legions were in the air. However, these military forces were only responsible for surrounding the palace. They basically did not participate in the battle. On the real battlefield, there was not a single ground force. It was all long-range artillery and aerial legions. The Council of Light had frantically mobilized more than 3,000 giant artillery, more than 30,000 aerial bombing troops, and more than 1,000 giant missiles. As long as the order was given, hundreds of thousands of artillery shells would smash into the ground of the Vulture Palace, which was less than 100 square kilometers wide. More than tens of thousands of tons of solidified kerosene crystal shells would be dropped on the ground of the Vulture Palace, which was only dozens of miles wide. This astonishing amount of artillery fire was enough to destroy everything on the ground of the Vulture Palace. There were only a little more than 2 hours left before the deadline set by Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian once again sent out an emissary into the Vulture Palace. He shouted, "There are only 2 hours left before the deadline. I hope that the Vulture Palace will immediately hand over the vulture and the culprit. Otherwise, you will have to bear the consequences." At this time, all the remaining experts of the Vulture Palace had gathered on the platform in front of Wolingzi's thatched hut. Their faces were full of worry. They could not help but blame the Vulture Palace. It had not been easy for them to settle down, but now it had caused such a big disaster. As for the Vulture Palace, he could not help but feel somewhat uneasy. Ling Chuzi entered and said, "Ancestor, there are only 2 hours left before the deadline set by Yang Dingtian." Wolingzi sneered and said, "Bluff." Ling Chuzi said, "Ancestor, what if Yang Dingtian launches an attack? Our energy arrays and our pill furnaces will all be fatally damaged." Wolingzi said, "Don't worry. He won't dare." Ling Chuzi said, What if Yang Dingtian really launches an attack?" Wolingzi said, "Then let him feel my anger. None of the higher-ups of the Council of Light around him should think about leaving alive. I can also show His Majesty the Demon King my loyalty and ability once more." Ling Chuzi's face trembled. If that were to happen, the higher-ups of the Council of Light would undoubtedly suffer countless casualties. However, the higher-ups of the Vulture Palace would probably not be able to survive. 2 hours were up. Wolingzi of the Vulture Palace, relying on Li Ming's backing, gave his final answer. Either fight or scram. Yang Dingtian gave the order. Immediately, tens of thousands of giant artillery shells and hundreds of giant missiles weighing tens of thousands of kilograms rained down on the Vulture Palace like a torrential storm. This sudden battle erupted in an incomparably abrupt manner. Chapter 905. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. In the eyes of all the remaining people in the Vulture Palace, countless cannonballs came like a rainstorm. At this time, almost everyone felt trembling. He could feel that even a top-notch powerhouse would become incomparably weak in the face of such a violent storm. Even Wolingzi, who was at the semi-saint level, could not stop all this. Suddenly, tens of thousands of cannonballs covered the Vulture Palace, which was less than 100 miles wide. Boom, 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 boom. Then, everyone watched helplessly. The magnificent Vulture Palace, which was like a fairyland, was completely covered by the raging fire. The whole Vulture Palace, which was more than 100 miles wide, seemed to be burning and torn apart in an instant. The exquisite pavilions and beautiful gardens were instantly smashed and turned into powder. Especially the giant missiles of the Council of Light, which contained dozens of tons of high explosives and X-crystals. The power of the explosion was completely unparalleled. Wolingzi stared at the giant object. In just a moment, it had entered the Vulture Palace and then smashed into a mountain. The terrible thing was that it actually drilled into the mountain for hundreds of feet. Then, there was an earth-shattering noise. Boom! The whole mountain seemed to be suddenly lifted and grabbed by the hand of God. Then it was instantly torn apart. Then, in the middle of the mountain, there was a huge crack hundreds of feet wide. It could no longer support the huge force of the mountain. Boom boom boom. This lonely mountain was broken and collapsed. Above it, countless caves and pavilions were all turned into powder. Wolingzi was instantly heartbroken. Yang Dingtian really dared to do it. He really dared to do it. This was his home, his only home. He had lived here for more than 200 years. Now, it was completely destroyed. Suddenly, he felt a wave of regret in his heart. He really should not have let the vulture go out and cause trouble. If it weren't for the tragedy created by Vulture, Yang Dingtian wouldn't have gotten his revenge today. What followed was Wulingzi's insanity and boundless fury. Even a cornered dog would jump over a wall. He wanted revenge. Yang Dingtian had destroyed his only home. He wanted revenge. He wanted revenge. Yang Dingtian, I will definitely kill all the high-ranking officials of your Council of Light. I will destroy all of your winged cavalry and your cannons. Wulingzi slowly stood up amidst the thick smoke and flames and drew his sword. This old man has not truly fought for countless years. Perhaps some people have already forgotten exactly how frightening I am. Wulingzi said word by word, "Today, I will let you see my anger. I will let His Majesty the Demon King see my Wulingzi's loyalty. Kill." Wulingzi suddenly gave the order and roared, "Kill the Council of Light. Leave no one alive." The Vulture Palace no longer had any military power. Therefore, they could only use their martial power to attack the military power. Following Wulingzi's order, the remaining experts of the Vulture Palace flew up like shooting stars and rushed toward the Council of Light's army. However, at this moment, suddenly a bolt of incomparably shocking lightning struck down from the sky. Boom! The spiritual Vulture Palace, which had already been burning fiercely, suddenly exploded with blinding light in the world that was already ablaze. The light, which was like a nuclear explosion, instantly tore the entire space apart. Suddenly, all the cannons lost their light. The two suns in the sky also became dim. Everyone was temporarily blinded. Yang Dingtian's three profound flame lightning, under the cover of countless cannons, suddenly smashed toward Wulingzi's lonely peak. This was because all the remaining experts of the Vulture Palace were gathered there. It was not that Yang Dingtian was ruthless. He originally wanted to temporarily put the Vulture Palace aside. However, there was no other way. The vulture's stupidity and bloodthirstiness directly caused the arrow to be knocked on the bow. Since he had made a move, there was no bottom line. Almost instantly, swoosh, many experts on the platform where Wulingzi's thatched hut was located were instantly turned into ashes. They were not even smashed into pieces. They were directly turned into ashes. Yang Dingtian's three profound flame attack was incomparably shocking. Its power exceeded the 19th level. Although the power of this profound flame lightning was not as lethal to humans as it was to the undead. However, all the experts who were below the level of Great Grandmaster were all turned into ashes. They died without a complete corpse. And a second before the profound flame lightning struck, Wulingzi immediately sensed the fatal danger. When he came to his senses, he immediately held Vulture in his arms and protected it tightly. Then he quickly left his position. Then he felt an incomparably powerful energy fiercely bombarding his back. In an instant, his entire body trembled violently. All the profound veins in his body seemed to have been completely torn apart. Indeed, the most direct target of Yang Dingtian's three profound flame lightning was Wulingzi. The rest was just collateral damage. Even so, the experts below the level of Great Grandmaster would not be able to withstand such collateral damage and were instantly turned into ashes. Wulingzi only felt a wave of numbness throughout his body. Then there was a piercing pain. It was as if his entire body did not belong to him at all. For the first time, he felt the terror and threat of death. Even though he had fled the moment he sensed danger and escaped from the center of the attack of the demi-saint profound flame lightning. Even so, he still suffered an unprecedented grievous injury. It was an endless terror. At the same time, the Great Grandmaster beside him had instantly lost all ability to react after being hit by the profound flame lightning. All he could do was tremble where he was. Kill, as the order was given. Two beautiful figures wearing demonic spirit mist robes quickly flashed and rushed in. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Before the remaining Great Grandmaster elites in Vulture Palace could react, they were all killed. Indeed, they were all killed, including Ling Chuzi. In less than half a second, they were all killed by Yao Li and Yao Zi. Boom 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 boom, the earth-shattering bombardment continued. Tens of thousands of winged cavalry troops were carrying tens of thousands of tons of napalm bombs. They covered the sky and the sun as they whizzed above the vulture palace. Whoosh 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 whoosh, an astronomical number of napalm bombs rained down like a storm. Boom 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 boom. Within less than 100 miles of the vulture palace, nothing else could be seen. Everything had been devoured by the raging flames. No one would be able to survive such terrifying flames. From this day onward, the vulture palace had completely disappeared from this world. Wolingzi had thought it through. He had gathered all the elites to his side and was prepared to launch a martial arts counterattack against the Council of Light. However, this made things easier for Yang Dingtian, who used a demi-saintier profound flame lightning to kill them all. The vulture palace had been completely wiped out. All the low-level martial artists had been killed in the earth-shattering bombardment. All the high-level martial artists had been reduced to ashes by Yang Dingtian's profound flame lightning. All the great grandmaster elites had been killed by Yao Li and Yao Zi. Only the vulture and Wolingzi were left in the entire vulture palace. Wolingzi's heart was bleeding. The last thing he had was completely destroyed. His foundation was completely destroyed. The foundation of the vulture palace, which had lasted for almost 1,000 years, was completely destroyed in his hands. As for Vulture, she was completely stunned. Her entire body and mind had sunk into fear. She had never thought that killing those demi-humans would have such serious consequences. Weren't they just a few demi-human beasts? Why did they attract such crazy revenge? They really wiped out the vulture palace. In fact, before the battle began, both Vulture and Wolingzi had thought that this was Yang Dingtian's strategic blackmail. They had experienced this many times. The vulture palace had been blackmailed countless times. Every time, Wolingzi would rather believe it to be true than to not believe it. Therefore, each time Yang Dingtian's strategic blackmail succeeded. Each time, Wolingzi gave in. This time, Wolingzi decided to be tough. However, Yang Dingtian wasn't trying to extort her anymore. He was serious. After that, the entire spirit vulture palace was truly wiped off the face of the earth. Everyone was truly wiped out. Only the father and daughter were left. Yang Dingtian, why are you here? Wolingzi had aged a few decades. He looked at the completely burning vulture palace and hissed. Yang Dingtian said slowly, I have said it before. Don't blame me for not warning you. You treated the Legion of Doom and Crown Prince Li Ming as your life-saving straw. Now, let me ask you, where is Crown Prince Li Ming? Where is the Legion of Doom? Where did Li Ming go? After sending the wedding invitation, he had already left the human countries. Yang Dingtian's last information was that he had entered the Little Western Paradise. Therefore, Yang Dingtian decided to act quickly and resolutely. He wanted to completely solve the problem of the Vulture Palace as soon as possible. In Li Ming's heart, he did not care about the life and death of anyone in the human countries, including Wolingzi. It was fine as long as the vulture did not die. However, no one would have thought that it was because of his arrival that Wolingzi and the vulture made an irreparable mistake. Wolingzi lowered his head. The Vulture Palace had suffered a disaster. As expected, Li Ming did not appear. Even the important figures of the evil ways did not appear, let alone any reinforcements. Furthermore, Yang Dingtian's speed was too fast. In just 3 days, he had completed a devastating blow. After a long time, Wolingzi slowly raised his head and said, I have always retreated. That is why in your heart, I am so greedy for life and afraid of death. Yang Ding, I am afraid that in your heart, my cultivation is incomparably weak. You probably want to destroy me just like you destroyed Wu Daozi. After letting out a long breath, Wolingzi slowly said, A cornered dog will jump over a wall. This old dog has finally been forced to jump over a wall. Yang Dingtian, you can clearly see how strong I am. Yes, the Vulture Palace is destroyed, but I am not dead yet. You will know how terrible it is to provoke me. I am the strongest person in the human countries. I have always been. I am greedy for life and afraid of death. I am fierce in appearance but weak in heart. Now, everything is over. I will let the whole world see the anger of Wolingzi. Wolingzi's voice was like thunder, completely resounding in the sky. I will let you see how weak the Council of Light is in front of me, including you, Yang Dingtian. Wulingzi slowly said, you have successfully forced this old dog to jump over a wall. Yang Dingan said, Wulingzi, I have never underestimated you. I have always been careful not to completely anger you, because I know how scary an old dog like you can be when you're enraged. Even the entire Council of Light's upper echelons will be slaughtered by you. Compared to the other strong people in the human countries, you are really much, much stronger. Oh, you actually know? Wulingzi said, then, why do you still want to force me to jump over a wall? Because of Li Ming, because of the Temple of Annihilation. Yang Dingtian slowly said, because the Temple of Annihilation has a no-kill order for me. If you kill me, the first one to kill you is Li Ming, is it Princess Mudan? No-kill order? Wulingzi sneered. I know this thing. It has long been outdated. The Temple of Annihilation needs you because they need you to lead the Council of Light Legion and fight a big battle with the Legion of Doom. Do you really think you have any weight in the eyes of the Temple of Annihilation? Yang Dingtian smiled and said, do you know where my no-kill order came from? First, it came from my wife, Shimin Ningning. Do you know who she is? She is the only descendant of Naga in this world, and she is the backer of the Temple of Annihilation of Evil Ways. Second, it came from the Demon King Wenin. Do you know where the Demon King Wenin came from? He and I come from the same world, speak the same language, and have the same blood. As soon as these words came out, Wulingzi's expression changed drastically. If he didn't know anything, it would be fine. The key was that he knew a little. No matter what happened to Shimaningning, he knew bits and pieces. He knew a lot about the Demon King Wenin. But he knew that Wu Yuming had learned a very special language. Yang Dingtian also knew this language. And Wu Yuming learned this language from the Demon King Wenin. Now, the puzzle was completely solved. He suddenly understood. So the no-kill order for Yang Dingtian came from this. The Demon King Wenin and I are both people chosen by the God of Chaos. It's just that we rebelled against the God of Chaos, and I became the spokesperson of the God of Chaos. Yang Dingtian slowly said, Wenin and I are enemies, but we are also comrades. So, in front of the Temple of Annihilation, what are you? Wulingzi's face twitched violently. Even so what? I won't kill you, but I can kill your family and all the upper echelons of your Council of Light. I will let you feel the pain of being stabbed in the heart. Yang Dingtian asked, do you really think that I have no way to kill you? Wulingzi laughed loudly. Do you know what my cultivation level is? Do you know how much higher I am than you? You want to kill me? You must be dreaming. I have an out-of-body experience. I am immortal. Yang Dingtian raised the soul ring and said slowly, show yourself, Ghost Emperor. Let our Wulingzi see your dignity again. Boom. Suddenly, the Nether Ghost Emperor drilled out of the soul ring. His incomparably huge body was like a mountain. In the midst of the cannon fire, he became incomparably majestic and incomparably terrifying. How have you been, young man from more than 200 years ago? We meet again. The Nether Ghost Emperor said slowly. Suddenly, Wulingzi was completely shocked, completely astonished. He really didn't expect to see the Nether Ghost Emperor here. Who was the Nether Ghost Emperor? He was his totem, his supreme belief. It was the ghost fire bestowed by the Nether Ghost Emperor that changed his fate and gave him eternal life. Now, the Nether Ghost Emperor actually appeared beside Yang Dingtian. This was too crazy. It was too devastating. Immediately, Wulingzi bowed deeply and said, Junior Wulingzi greets your Majesty Ghost Emperor. The Nether Ghost Emperor looked at Wulingzi and said slowly, I can bestow you the ghost fire, I can bestow you eternal life. Naturally, I can also take it back. What do you say? All of Wulingzi's anger, all of his strong dignity, collapsed in an instant. Only infinite fear was left, the infinite fear of losing eternal life. Yes, your Majesty. Wulingzi trembled and said. Yang Dingtian looked at Wulingzi and said, I still have hope for you, but I know that you are afraid of the Demon King Wenin to the bone. You are afraid of the Temple of Annihilation to the bone. Moreover, I don't care about your moral integrity. Therefore, I don't want to recruit you. I only want to make a deal with you. Hand over Vulture and you can live." In an instant, Vulture was completely terrified and fell into infinite fear. No, no. Chapter 906. Could the Nether Ghost Emperor take back the ghost fire in Wolingzi's body? He couldn't. This was because the Nether Ghost Emperor's cultivation was not even as good as Wolingzi's. Even his own body's energy was not as good as the ghost fire in Wolingzi's body. However, Wolingzi didn't know this. He only knew that his fear of the Nether Ghost Emperor was deeply engraved in his bones. Without the Nether Ghost Emperor, he wouldn't be immortal and he wouldn't be incomparably powerful. Without the ghost fire bestowed by the Nether Ghost Emperor, he wouldn't have been able to break through to the half-step Saint Realm. Yang Dingtian had used the Nether Ghost Emperor because he had no other choice. This was a secret, a very big secret. Once he used the Nether Ghost Emperor and the evil ways found out, it would be a great danger and trouble. After all, Yang Dingtian had the Nether Ghost Emperor, which meant that he had the ability and possibility to counterattack the Underworld Empire. Evil ways couldn't tolerate this. But Yang Dingtian had no other choice. That idiot spirit Vulture had forced him to the point where he had no other choice. After Yang Dingtian found out the real reason why he didn't kill Vulture, the danger of the Nether Ghost Emperor's secret was greatly reduced. Therefore, Yang Dingtian finally used this trump card against Wolingzi. There was no other way. Wolingzi was too powerful, so Yang Dingtian had no choice but to use this method. Wolingzi was caught in an extremely difficult choice. He was afraid of death, but he could sacrifice everything for himself. Moreover, he had sacrificed countless people. He had lived for more than 200 years, so he didn't care about the deaths of countless people. At least, the death of his grandson Ling Chuzi didn't cause any ripples in his heart. However, Vulture was different. She was his biological daughter and his most beloved child. In order to protect himself, he had married her to the pervert Dongli. But she had only remarried, not abandoned and betrayed. But what if he didn't agree to Yang Dingtian's request? If the netherworld ghost flame in his body was taken away, the direct consequence would be immediate death. There was no other possibility. Moreover, even if he obtained the evil energy in the future, as long as the netherworld ghost flame left his body, he would die without a doubt. The lifespan of a human in this world was usually around 100 years, but through some evil secret techniques, they could live up to 200 years. However, 200 years was the limit. So, without the nether ghost flame, he would die immediately. He didn't want to die. He didn't want to lose the immortality that he had obtained. Suddenly, Wolingzi thought of a question and said, "You have His Majesty, the Nether Ghost Emperor, so why didn't you come to suppress me before? Why did you wait until now?" Yang Dington, "Because I'm afraid that evil ways will find out and try to kill me." Wolingzi asked, "Then why aren't you afraid now?" Yang Dington, "Because I know the real reason for the no-kill order." Wolingzi fell silent, then said, "Will you kill Vulture?" Don't. Hearing Wolingzi's tone soften, Vulture screamed, "Great-grandfather, don't hand me over to Yang Ding. Don't, Yang Dingun, I won't kill Vulture. I will imprison her for life." Wolingzi said in a trembling voice, Are you sure? If you kill her, I will definitely be furious. I will definitely take the craziest revenge." Yang Dingtian nodded. Then, Wolingzi fiercely clenched his teeth. 2 streams of tears rolled down his cheeks as he pushed the spirit Vulture forward. No. Vulture immediately wailed and screamed with all her might. Then, she was grabbed by Yao Li and Yao Zi, unable to move. "Wolingzi, you old bastard. You can't even protect your own daughter, you good-for-nothing. Yang Di, I curse you. I curse you to die a horrible death. Your entire family will die a horrible death. Wolingzi, you old thief. In order to survive, you can even abandon your own daughter. You might as well die if you continue living like this. You might as well die. Old bastard, why don't you die? Why don't you die?" Vulture screamed and screamed with all her might. Then, she was dragged away by Yao Li and Yao Zi. Just as she was about to curse Yang Dingtian viciously, She was slapped back by Yao Zi. Looking at Vulture being taken away, Wulingzi gritted his teeth and gathered qi in his palms. He wanted to resist violently, but in the next moment, he let go of his hands in fear and dejection. Finally, Vulture's figure could no longer be seen. Wulingzi collapsed to the ground. Wrinkles quickly grew on his face. He muttered to himself, "What's the point of living like this? What's the point of living like this? I might as well die. I might as well die." He kept muttering to himself. Then, his eyes revealed an ominous glint. Like a trapped beast, he was filled with a frenzied desire to kill. Yang Dingan suddenly said, "Live on. Watch will you die. Watch the Netherworld Ghost Emperor die. Watch me die. These people you hate the most will kill each other. In the end, they will all die. Only you will survive. Isn't that good?" Wulingzi was stunned. Then, he could not help but imagine that scene. Yang Dingtian said again, "I really don't understand. You have the power to live forever. Why do you still want to fall into a struggle? You are incomparably aloof. You don't rely on anyone and you don't oppose anyone. Isn't that good?" In the end, Yang Dingtian stepped forward and said, "Senior Wulingzi, from now on, you and I will not interfere with each other's business. You cannot touch anyone from the Council of Light. Otherwise, I will take away your Netherworld Ghost Flame and kill Vulture even if I have to pay a huge price." In the end, Yang Dingtian said, "Senior, the Vulture Palace has been completely destroyed. You have no more thoughts. You can just be an immortal. You can be elusive and wander everywhere. Moreover, you lost Vulture. Evil ways will not let you go. If I were you, I would go as far as possible and never let Li Ming find me. Never let the people of evil ways find me." After saying this, Yang Dingtian turned and left. Wulingzi was still standing in the same place. He did not move at all. Yang Dingtian's last words were engraved in his mind. Be an immortal, a wandering immortal. After leaving Wulingzi, Yang Dingtian heaved a long sigh of relief. This battle was finally won without any mishap. He was really afraid that Wulingzi would suddenly go crazy and hurt people. If that happened, no one would be able to stop him. His cultivation was too strong. Moreover, his soul could leave his body. Therefore, for Yang Dingtian, he was a little like a bug. There was no way to deal with him. As for whether Queen Hai Xian and Wu Yu could kill Wulingzi, Yang Dingtian did not know. The Council of Light Corps had all retreated. The entire Vulture Palace, as a geographical term, had completely disappeared from this world. The 3 Vulture Islands had completely turned into hell. 2 of the 3 peaks had collapsed. The last one had been burned and twisted. All the pavilions and caves had been burned down. Then, the Council of Light Corps entered the Vulture Palace. In an extremely deep cave at the bottom of the mountain, they saw a hair-raising scene. In an extremely huge pill furnace, there were countless living people boiling. A huge energy array was constantly extracting the vitality of these living people and condensing it into energy elixirs. In the abyss not far away, there were countless skeletons. Moreover, they were all distorted skeletons. This should be the secret of the longevity of the people in the Vulture Palace. It might even be the secret of the many experts in the Vulture Palace. In another cave at the bottom of the mountain, there was a huge energy array. It was a few hundred meters in size. In the center of the energy array, there was a night owl imprisoned. The demon core on the night owl's head was pierced with an energy sword. More than 10 spiritual masters were controlling the night owl's head. In this way, the night owl could emit different levels of energy lightning. Moreover, the lightning energy of the night owl could be magnified or reduced through an extremely complicated crystal energy array. This was the secret of the great grandmasters in the Vulture Palace. This work was similar to Yang Dingtian's mystic fire lightning. In this way, it could help the experts in the Vulture Palace complete the sublimation and nirvana transformation of the Sea of Qi without the need for the power of heaven and earth. Of course, the evil under the Vulture Palace was far more than this. It was still unearthed, especially the secret of Wulingzi's cultivation breakthrough. He had the Netherworld Ghost Fire in his body, so he could directly devour extremely powerful dead souls. In the ancient battlefield ruins, there were many powerful dead souls. They either didn't go to the Netherworld Ghost Emperor or could be directly summoned. This was the most direct reason why he broke through to the half-saint level. However, in the next few decades, he basically didn't leave the Vulture Palace. However, his cultivation was still improving, but not so fast. Therefore, Wolingzi's crimes were monstrous and should be cut into pieces. After the army retreated to the southern barbarian Ming city, Yang Dingtian held a grand funeral for the victims of the half-human clan. As for the execution ceremony of the perpetrators, it couldn't be carried out, because these people were all dead. Therefore, there was only one target in the trial assembly, and that was Vulture. Then, under the eyes of thousands of people, Vulture was whipped. She was whipped 100 times. At first, she was completely crazy and cursed, and her screams were endless. After the whipping, her whole body was completely dripping with blood. Of course, because of the fourth-class evil spirit, she wouldn't die, and her injuries would recover quickly. In the end, the Council of Light sentenced her to life imprisonment. In front of countless people, Vulture was imprisoned in an energy prison. In the end, this energy prison was placed in the north of the Demon Vulture King Aja. Yang Dingtian rode the Demon Vulture King Aja and went north at the fastest speed. Just putting Vulture in the energy prison was not enough. At this time, Vulture was lying in the energy prison dripping with blood. She suddenly said, "Can you give me a condensation pill?" Yang Dingtian handed it in. Vulture opened the condensation pill and poured it on her body. Immediately, all the blood on her body was washed away. Because of the whipping, her clothes were torn. She suddenly tore them. Her snow-white and delicate body was completely exposed in front of him. Slender and graceful, although not plump, it was incomparably attractive. Even if she was a fourth-class evil spirit, she was incomparably powerful. At this time, there were no wounds on her body. "You want to kill me, right?" Vulture suddenly said. Yang Dingtian shook his head. Vulture said, "You are smart. If you kill me, Wolingzi will go crazy, and your people will be killed by him. As long as I die, he will feel it. After all, he and I are father and daughter. My life astrolabe has been engraved on his crown." Yang Dingtian ignored her. Vulture said again, "In fact, you can't take away Wolingzi's netherworld ghost fire, right? You are just bluffing him. If you could, you would have killed him long ago. You would not allow him to live in this world." Yang Dingtian still ignored her. "Where are you taking me?" Vulture said. Yang Dingtian still ignored her. Demon Vulture King Azu kept flying in the northwest direction. He flew over the northwest continent, flew over the north, and finally came to the northwest end of the Yin-Yang mirror. Vulture was too dangerous. He could not kill her, and he could not let her fall into the hands of evil ways. Then the only way was to imprison her in a place that no one knew and no one could reach. This place, of course, was another space. Tearing space. "Have we arrived? Where is my prison?" Vulture asked with a smile. Yang Dingtian smashed her head and directly knocked her out. Then he released the dark profound fire to create an energy vortex and a black hole to devour the isolated space. Colliding with the dark profound fire, he created a beautiful space door in the isolated space. Finally, Demon Vulture King Azu carried the energy prison and rushed into the space door. Then Yang Dingtian also rushed into the space door. Soon, the spirit vulture slowly woke up. Seeing the tearing space around her and countless floating boulders, she was completely stunned. Where is this?" Vulture hissed in horror. Yang Dingtian used the dark profound fire to cut a hole in the center of the boulder, and then put the energy prison in. Finally, he used the dark profound fire to completely solidify the prison and the boulder. "This is your prison, the place where you will be imprisoned for life," Yang Dingtian said. Looking at the extremely bleak tearing space, there was nothing inside, no sky or earth, only countless floating boulders. She was the only one in the entire world. The spirit vulture suddenly felt incomparable fear and panic. No, don't lock me up here. Yang Ding, don't lock me up here, kill me. Vulture struggled desperately in the prison, desperately banging her head, and soon she was dripping with blood. However, because of the fourth-class evil spirit energy, the wound quickly healed, not even a scar was left. She screamed desperately inside, banged desperately, and rolled desperately. But it was all to no avail. Yang Dingtian said slowly, "Because you have a fourth-class evil spirit in your body, you can't starve to death, so I won't leave you any pills or food. Of course, because of the evil spirit energy, you can't die even if you commit suicide, it's completely useless. You, just like this, spend the rest of your life here. When your lifespan is up, you will naturally be free." "No, no, no!" Vulture cried desperately. "Yang Dingen, I beg you, don't imprison me here, I'm scared. Yang Dingtian sighed. "If you said this more than 2 years ago, there was still room for redemption, but now, it's too late." "It's not too late, it's not too late." Vulture cried desperately, knelt down and begged, "Brother Yang Ding, you loved me the most before, I will definitely change, I will be your sister, I will be your lover, I will be obedient, I beg you, don't imprison me here." Yang Dingtian looked at her kneeling and kowtowing, and felt a burst of pain in his heart, then shook his head and said, "Sorry, it's too late." Then he turned and left. Suddenly, Vulture's voice sounded behind him. "Brother Yang Ding, before you leave, can I ask you for a favor?" Vulture said. Her voice seemed to have recovered the spirit and crispness of a few years ago. Yang Dingtan asked, "What is it?" Vulture said, "I'm still a virgin. I don't want to be a virgin for the rest of my life. You, let me have a taste of a man and a woman, okay?" Then she knelt down in the prison with her back facing Yang Dingtan and said, "You don't have to let me out, this is enough. Next, I will be in this most cruel prison for the rest of my life. My life is already over. But here, I have never had a taste of a man and a woman in my life, I'm really unwilling. Big brother Yang Dingtan, you used to dote on me the most. Please help me, okay?" At the end, Vulture's voice was already trembling. Chapter 907. The water of the Ecstasy River was still as red as blood and was still permeated with the aura of death. Yang Dingtian went against the current and explored along the Ecstasy River, but he didn't discover anything strange. Soon, Yang Dingtian arrived near the Temple of Blood. At this moment, the Temple of Blood had already withered and he didn't see anyone. Soon, Yang Dingtian gave up on the idea of entering the Temple of Blood and continued to go along the Ecstasy River. The Ecstasy River was 5,000 miles long and its source was the Demon Area. After going 2,000 miles into the Ecstasy River, Yang Dingtian directly dived into the river. Although the river water here was as red as blood and was highly toxic, it was no longer a problem for Yang Dingtian. No matter how toxic it was, it couldn't be more toxic than the third dark domain's engulfing serum. The Ecstasy River was very deep and Yang Dingtian dived for over 200 meters before he reached the bottom. The deeper it was, the darker the color of the blood. The river water was also very thick and was exactly the same as the putrid blood. Furthermore, in this blood-red serum, he couldn't see anything and could only use his celestial chi to push the surrounding river water away. Yang Dingtian discovered that after countless years of corrosion, the bottom of the river had completely changed. It looked like a stone, a metal, and a special crystal. It was very hard and ordinary treasured swords couldn't damage it at all. The widest part of the Ecstasy River was over 300 miles long. However, the further upstream one went, the narrower it became. The lower one went, the narrower it became. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was only a few hundred meters away from the bottom of the Ecstasy River. However, this was all he discovered. Just like this, Yang Dingtian went against the current. After 1 day and 1 night, he reached the end of the Ecstasy River, which was the Demon Area. He didn't discover anything at the bottom of the Ecstasy River. He didn't discover any entrances or spatial overlaps. He released countless resentful spirits and didn't discover any whirlpools or waves. Therefore, Yang Dingtian left the Ecstasy River and flew into the Demon Area. The Demon Area was rumored to be a land that had lost its vitality after the ancient era was destroyed. In fact, that was not the case. Yang Dingtian had found a top-secret record. At least a few thousand years ago, the infernal domain was not completely devoid of life. At least a few hundred years ago, he was still the domain of evil ways. At this moment, there was no longer any life in the devil domain, nor was there any profound energy. Even the air was poisonous. The sky was forever shrouded in darkness, and the two suns could not be seen. Of course, the infernal domain's poisonous gas was nothing to Yang Dingtian now. After entering the infernal domain, Yang Dingtian immediately released countless wraiths to explore every place. This was especially true for energy vortexes or spatial overlaps. At that time, he still didn't gain anything. 3 days and 3 nights later, Yang Dingtian used countless wraiths to explore the entire infernal domain, but he didn't find anything. There was no sign of the so-called Legion of Doom's entrance to the Empire of Darkness. Yang Dingtian had even re-entered the secret realm of Despair City. At this moment, there was nothing left in the Despair City secret realm except for a pile of ruins. That was because the illusion had not been activated yet. Completely at his wit's end, Yang Dingtian even used his near Emperor-grade soul sword to dig at the original location of the Despair City secret realm. 300 meters, 500 meters, 1,000 meters, 3,000 meters, 5,000 meters, 10,000 meters, 30,000 meters, 50,000 meters, 100,000 meters, 300,000 meters. In the end, Yang Dingtian used the million-spirit demon fire to heat up the Emperor-grade soul sword to a terrifying temperature of tens of thousands of degrees. Then he spun rapidly and turned into an extremely shocking mysterious fire drill. In this way, he could dig tens of thousands of meters deep in an hour. In the end, Yang Dingtian dug a shocking 1,000 miles deep. He dug 1,000 miles deep into the ground. There was still an endless amount of rocks, but he didn't find anything. Yang Dingtian continued to head north. It turned out that the infernal domain was far more than 10,000 miles. However, it wasn't very big either. It was only 20,000 miles and he had already reached the end. At the end of the infernal domain, there was nothing. There was only a gray sky. It was exactly the same as the sky of the infernal domain. It was a void. Yang Dingtian flew towards the north of the gray void. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, it was still a gray void. When he flew up, it was still a gray void. When he flew down, it was still a gray void. Yang Dingtian knew that this was a spatial folding. It was an infinite repetition. That's right. The northern end of the infernal domain was also the end of the human kingdom. It was the same as the endless sea east of the Dongli grassland. Yang Dingtian used the darkness mysterious fire to create a dark vortex to isolate the space. Then he collided with the mysterious fire to create a spatial door. Swoosh! Yang Dingtian suddenly jumped in. Sure enough, he had traveled to another space. However, this space looked very familiar. There were floating boulders everywhere. That's right, it was a spatial tear. The end of the infernal domain was actually a spatial tear. However, at the southwest end of the infernal domain, shouldn't it be the yin-yang mirror? If this was a spatial tear, then the only coordinate should be the imprisoned vulture. Therefore, Yang Dingtian flew towards the southwest corner according to his memory. In the end, after flying for tens of thousands of miles, he couldn't find the vulture at all. Then Yang Dingtian used the mysterious fire to travel quickly. He flew along the edge of the spatial tear. After flying around, he still couldn't find the vulture's figure. He also couldn't see the boulder where the vulture's energy prison was located. This was really strange. Could it be that there wasn't only one spatial tear, but a second spatial tear? Suddenly, Yang Dingtian looked up abruptly. It was still a boundless floating boulder. His heart stirred and he immediately flew up. This flight was still tens of thousands of miles. That's right, he flew up more than 30,000 miles. Yang Ding, come and mess with me, come and mess with me. If you mess with me, I'll forgive you. Ha! Then, the vulture's voice drilled into Yang Dingtian's ears. That's right, this was the spatial tear. However, Yang Dingtian forgot that this was no longer a two-dimensional world, but a three-dimensional world. It was tens of thousands of miles wide, and tens of thousands of miles up and down. The upper plane of this spatial tear was connected to the yin-yang mirror, and the lower plane was connected to the end of the infernal domain. Yang Dingtian happened to want to explore the infernal domain, so it was just right to open a space door and jump into the infernal domain from this place. At this time, the naked vulture knelt in the energy prison. He put his palms together and said, "God of Chaos, I know Yang Dingtian is your spokesperson. From now on, I will pray to you, please let Yang Dingtian come back and let me out. From now on, I will completely believe in you." Of course, the God of Chaos would not give Vulture any reaction. Vulture continued to pray, "If possible, God of Chaos, please turn back time. Go back to before Yang Dingtian brought me back to the Vulture Palace, before Wu Yuming proposed to my grandfather. If that was the case, I would definitely not marry Wu Yuming. I would definitely follow Yang Dingtian back to Cloud Sky City, then I would definitely not be like today." At this point, Vulture suddenly burst into tears. He knelt in the prison and cried loudly. "I regret it, I regret it, I regret it. Why was I bewitched at that time? Why did I stay in the Vulture Palace? I could have become Yang Dingtian's most beloved person. I could have become the proudest person in this world." Vulture continued to cry bitterly. When Yang Dingtian heard this, his heart trembled. There was no doubt that Vulture was speaking the truth because no one heard it. She also did not know that there was anyone around, so there was no need to pretend. "Vulture, you idiot, you can't see clearly at all, and you don't know who is the one who is good to you. Why did you let yourself become like today, neither a human nor a ghost?" Vulture, who was lying in the prison, cried until he was out of breath. Then he began to curse and complain. "Yang Dingtian, you hypocrite, you bastard. Why didn't you persist? Why didn't you persist? I was just infatuated with Wu Yuming. I actually still like you very much. Otherwise, in the secret realm of Despair City, I would not have taken advantage of you being unconscious and almost did that with you. Why are you pretending? Why are you pretending to be magnanimous? Why don't you just drag me away?" Hearing Vulture's cries, Yang Dingtian's heart ached. In the past, he had indeed treated Vulture as someone very close to him. Moreover, at the Vulture Palace, after Willingzi had rejected her help, she had offered herself to him, but Yang Dingtian had rejected her. Moreover, Vulture had proposed to escape from the Vulture Palace with him, but he had not agreed at that time. In the end, on the second day, Vulture had discovered that the person who had proposed to her was actually Wu Yuming, so she had immediately become infatuated and lost her mind. At this time, Vulture had even proposed to follow Yang Dingtian back to Cloud Sky City, but at that time, her willpower had already wavered. At that time, if Yang Dingtian had persisted and taken Vulture away, she would not have ended up like today. However, Yang Dingtian's pride had caused him to let Vulture go even though he clearly knew that Wu Yuming was very dangerous. That's right. Even though he clearly knew that Wu Yuming was very dangerous, Yang Dingtian had still let Vulture go completely because of his pride. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian could not help but feel his heart soften. Now, was it too late to save Vulture? Wasn't there a saying that if you wanted to win a woman's heart, you had to win her body first? If he now possessed Vulture physically, would he be able to win her heart? Would he be able to save her? At this moment, Vulture's voice rang out once again. However, this time, the voice was completely different from before. Instead, it was hoarse, cold, and even vicious. "Vulture, don't be so stupid. You actually still have hope for that pitiful Yang Dingtian? He can't even protect himself. You will only die if you follow him." Immediately after, the delicate Vulture's voice rang out, "Even if I die, can I still restore the beautiful past?" The cold voice rang out, "Ha, the beautiful past? Have you ever had a beautiful past? At that time in Vulture Palace, you stripped naked and offered Yang Dingtian to sleep with you. He didn't even want to sleep with you. What do you think you are in his heart?" The delicate voice rang out, "No, he loves me very much. It's just that I was infatuated with Wu Yuming at that time. His pride caused him to refuse to accept me." The gloomy and cold voice said, "Oh, after so many years, you have finally figured out a problem. You still like Yang Dingtian. It's very simple. Get out alive and take revenge on him madly. Kill his wife and children. Watch him suffer, and watch him fall completely. This way, he can forget about being high and mighty in front of you. Since you are already in the depths of hell, the best way is to drag others into hell as well. The delicate voice said, "No, we can't get out, we can't get out." The cold voice said, "We can get out. Prince Li Ming is omnipotent. As long as I can get out, not to mention selling my body, even if I sell myself completely to the devil, even if the devil humiliates me 10,000 times, I am willing." Immediately, Yang Dingtian, who was at the side, shuddered when he heard it. Vulture, who was imprisoned in this torn space, had begun to split into two extremes. One was the vulture from a few years ago, that cunning but pure little girl. Moreover, she was even more pure and clever because that was the girl Yang Dingtian liked. The other was the incomparably dark and vicious vulture. The desperate vulture could not survive this endless loneliness. Moreover, even if it wanted to commit suicide, it could not die. Finally, it began to split into two. Yang Dingtan immediately turned invisible and flew towards the end of the torn space to avoid meeting Vulture. "Brother Yang Dingtan, is that you? I know it is you. Come and see me, come and see me. I am Vulture, I am your most beloved sister, Vulture." The delicate voice was very sensitive. Even if Yang Dingtian passed by invisibly, she seemed to have felt it. "Stop dreaming, stop being coquettish." The cold voice said, "Yang Dingtian will not come. His end is coming soon. If you have the time, why don't we have a fight between us, how about it?" Then, like a madwoman, she began to fight in the prison. Moreover, she was fighting with herself. After creating a space door, Yang Dingtian quickly jumped out of the torn space and came to the yin-yang mirror. Here, there was mirror-like water everywhere. It was tens of thousands of miles wide and endless. The water here seemed to be very heavy, so people could step on it. After returning to the yin-yang mirror for a long time, Yang Dingtian still couldn't calm down. The two extremes of Vulture, a delicate and pure voice and a hoarse and vicious voice, kept ringing in his ears. In the past, Yang Dingtian had seen even more terrifying things. But today's scene had truly caused his heart to shudder. After calming down, Yang Dingtian began to dig down in the yin-yang mirror, trying to find the Empire of Darkness where the Legion of Doom was, and whether he could find the Xian vein essence needed by the Sword Soul. Yang Dingtian's action was very direct. He directly turned into the Xian Fire Whirlwind Drill and drilled directly under the yin-yang mirror. Here, there was water everywhere, and there was no land. Therefore, Yang Dingtian could only drill into the water. However, just after drilling a few meters into the water, he immediately turned upside down. Oh, I remember, the water in the yin-yang mirror was anti-gravity. At that time, Yang Dingtian and Dongfang Bingling once had a bridal chamber under the yin-yang mirror. Anti-gravity, it didn't matter. Yang Dingtian used the Xian fire and desperately drilled into the water of the yin-yang mirror. Perhaps there would be a surprise here. Chapter 908. There was only one thing in the yin-yang mirror, and that was water. The water here was very clear and heavy, enough for people to float on, but it was easier to shuttle through heavy water than rocks. Yang Dingtian was like a large electric drill, constantly diving, and diving. In just a few minutes, Yang Dingtian had finished shuttling in the water. He didn't go as deep as thousands of miles as in the demon territory. This layer of heavy water in the yin-yang mirror was only about tens of thousands of meters deep. Whoosh! Yang Dingtian rushed out of the heavy water layer of the yin-yang mirror and came to a new space. As mentioned before, as long as he entered the heavy water of the yin-yang mirror, he would immediately enter the anti-gravity field. Therefore, after passing through the heavy water layer, Yang Dingtian put away the mystic fire behind him and immediately turned around, stepping on the heavy water layer again. It was as if he was stepping on a mirror, and the heavy water only reached his ankles. Then Yang Dingtian began to observe the world tens of thousands of meters below the yin-yang mirror. His first feeling was that it was very familiar. That's right, it was very familiar. As far as his eyes could see, there was still an endless mirror surface, and there was no end to it. Not only that, when he looked up at the sky, There were two suns hanging in the middle of the sky. This was the most beautiful world. As if there was a place in this world that was the closest to a fairyland, it was here. But this was clearly tens of thousands of meters under the yin-yang mirror. How could there be a sky and two suns? In short, it looked exactly the same as on the yin-yang mirror. Could it be that he had returned to the yin-yang mirror? That's right, this was the sky, not some illusion or illusion. Then, Yang Dingtian dived into the water under his feet again. As soon as he entered the heavy water layer, he immediately entered the anti-gravity field again. Yang Dingtian spouted the mystic fire behind him and desperately dived down. A few minutes later he came out of the water again. Then he saw the yin-yang mirror, the sky, and the two suns again. For the third time, Yang Dingtian took out a crystal sunglasses from his arms and threw it in the water beside his feet. Then he dived into the water again and spouted the mystic fire behind him, constantly diving down. After passing through tens of thousands of meters of the heavy water layer, he once again rushed out of the water. He still saw the yin-yang mirror, the sky, and the two suns. Looking to the side, he saw the crystal sunglasses he threw floating on the water. Yang Dingtian was sure that every time he passed through the heavy water layer, there was only one result, and that was to return to the yin-yang mirror. Yang Dingtian was completely shocked. What was going on? No matter how deep he dived, he would always return to the surface. Could it be that in the water he would automatically reverse himself? So every time he went down, he would return to the surface of the water, to the surface of the yin-yang mirror? In other words, he would never be able to reach the bottom of the heavy water layer. He would never know what the world beneath the yin-yang mirror was like. However, the profound vein essence should be very, very deep under the yin-yang mirror. How did Princess Mudan get it at that time? However, Yang Dingtian also understood why this place was called the yin-yang mirror. Not only was this world a pool of mirror water, but it could also automatically reverse his direction and make him return to the surface of the mirror. Yang Dingtian didn't believe it and dived into the water again. Then, Yang Dingtian dived halfway down. Then he released the dark mystic fire, created a dark vortex, isolated the space, and created a space door with the mystic fire. Then he jumped through the space. He was still in the water. After diving halfway down, he rushed out of the water. He returned to the yin-yang mirror again, and the crystal sunglasses were still floating at his feet. This layer of heavy water was not a folded space. That was really strange. He was clearly moving in one direction, but he returned to the original place every time. Next, Yang Dingtian tried countless methods, but the result was the same. He couldn't pass through this heavy water layer at all. Every time, he returned to the surface of the mirror. Hence, Yang Dingtian continued to advance towards the north. Advance and advance. After tens of thousands of miles, the yin-yang mirror was still endless. But Yang Dingtian felt that this should be a folded space. In fact, he was already at the northern end of the yin-yang mirror. He created a space door and jumped in. Sure enough, it was a folded space. Yang Dingtian went to tear the space again. But this time, he was farther away from the vulture and couldn't hear his voice. Yang Dingtian created another space door and jumped back into the yin-yang mirror. He was really at his wit's end. In the next day and night, Yang Dingtian tried countless methods again. The result was the same every time. He couldn't find any entrance in the yin-yang mirror, and it was impossible to rush out of the heavy water layer. He couldn't reach the world below the yin-yang mirror. So, Yang Dingtian temporarily gave up all his actions and began to sit cross-legged and think quietly. First, Wu Yoming's direct hint to him was the river of ecstasy. Yang Dingtian couldn't find anything strange in the river of ecstasy, so he went to the demon area. Then he couldn't find anything in the demon area, so he finally came to the yin-yang mirror. However, there was no breakthrough in the yin-yang mirror. If a path didn't work, it was very likely that he had taken the wrong path in the beginning. Yang Dingtian had to return his thoughts to the river of ecstasy. Yang Dingtian always had a question in his heart. Where did the river of ecstasy flow to? The river of ecstasy flowed from east to west, and finally to the Northwest Sea. Yang Dingtian took out the map and found a very strange place. First of all, The rivers in this world flowed from north to south, and also from west to east, but it was really rare to see a river flowing from east to west. Looking carefully, he found that the sea behind the demon area and Sky Demon City was actually relatively parallel. In other words, the river of ecstasy turned in the middle, and then the source and the end were actually parallel? Was there such a strange thing in the world? Suddenly, Yang Dingtian felt that he had been studying the source of the river of ecstasy, but neglected its end, which was the highly toxic sea. It was an absolute forbidden zone for life. Not to mention ships, even birds couldn't pass through the high altitude of that sea. Since it was called a forbidden zone for life, it meant that no one had ever gone there. Did that mean that there was some kind of secret? Thus, Yang Dingtian immediately decided to go to the end of the river of ecstasy, the highly toxic sea north of Sky Demon City. Using invisibility and demonic spirit mist cloak flash, Yang Dingtian quickly went south from the yin-yang mirror. In less than 20,000 miles, he had already reached the southern end of the yin-yang mirror. Legend said that the yin-yang mirror was boundless, but that was just the effect of space overlapping. Its length was unknown, but its width was only less than 20,000 miles. The south of the yin-yang mirror was the north. The north kept going south, and in just a few thousand miles, he reached the north of the highly toxic sea. In fact, when he was more than 100 miles away from the highly toxic sea, it was as if he had entered hell. There was already a terrifying fog everywhere, and it was getting thicker and thicker, until he couldn't see anything at all. The entire sky was completely shrouded in poisonous fog. It was fortunate that Yang Dingtian was completely impervious to poison. Otherwise, any life form would have already died before entering the sea region and this dense fog. Soon, Yang Dingtian arrived at the highly toxic sea. The seawater here was rolling with disgusting and terrifying colors. Some were red, some were green, and some were purple. Moreover, the seawater here was like thick slurry, almost unable to flow. Yang Dingtian instinctively held his breath and dove into the sea. Although he was immune to all poisons, Yang Dingtian still couldn't help but use the demonic spirit demon fire energy shield and the profound chi rejection shield to isolate the surrounding seawater. Then he kept diving, diving, and diving. This highly toxic sea was very deep. After diving for tens of thousands of meters, he finally reached the bottom. Yang Dingtian was now certain that there was almost no one in this world who could enter this sea. First of all, no one could resist the poison. Secondly, there was the terrifying pressure. Even a great grandmaster might not be able to resist it. Then Yang Dingtian searched the bottom of the sea to see if he could find any entrance or something like that, and release the countless resentful spirits of the million spirits demon fire. Only half an hour. Suddenly, countless wraiths reacted violently and fled for their lives. Not far from the bottom of the sea, there was a whirlpool, an incomparably huge whirlpool. Yang Dingtian carefully approached it, approaching it. This whirlpool was too shocking. First of all, it was not a dark whirlpool, nor a black hole. It was a huge physical whirlpool and an energy whirlpool. Yang Dingtian was thousands of meters away, but he could feel the terrifying suction force. Even with his cultivation as a half-saint, he could feel the terrible suction force. Yang Dingtian operated his profound chi and carefully approached it, approaching it. Finally he saw it. He saw the whirlpool. It was completely like a demon opening its big mouth. Countless amounts of highly toxic seawater madly surged into the whirlpool. This whirlpool was at least a few hundred meters in diameter, and the suction force was at least a few million kilograms. Even Yang Dingtian was a little shaky. Found it. If there was a so-called entrance, it must be here. Now, Yang Dingtian had a choice. Should he enter or not? If he entered and it was a fatal trap, he would be courting death. This whirlpool looked too scary. It gave people the feeling that it was leading to hell. But if he did not enter, this was the only entrance that Yang Dingtian had found. It was also very likely that it was the only entrance to the Empire of Darkness where the Legion of Doom was located. However, Yang Dingtian did not hesitate for too long. He gritted his teeth and fought. Yang Dingtian held his breath and suddenly jumped into the whirlpool. Suddenly, an incomparably powerful suction force sucked him into the whirlpool. At this time, even if Yang Dingtian was a half-saint, he was completely powerless to resist the force. Under this amazing force, Yang Dingtian was completely unable to move. He could only be crazily swallowed by the endless seawater. He did not know if he was falling, going north, or going south. In short, Yang Dingtian kept shuttling in the passage of this whirlpool. His speed was extremely fast. Yang Dingtian estimated that this speed was more than 2,000 to 3,000 miles per hour, or even faster. If not for Yang Dingtian's powerful cultivation, he would have been instantly smashed into pieces and turned into meat paste under this suction force. Crazily swallowing, Yang Dingtian's body moved crazily, and moved. Time seemed to be unable to stop. If this was a game of tunnel, it would definitely be the longest in the world. This was because Yang Dingtian could clearly sense the time and his own physical movements. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. Yang Dingtian was really going crazy. One had to know that at this time, there was no way to look at the watch. He could only count the time silently. Later, Yang Dingtian gave up counting the time silently, and Queen Poisa took his place. In this way, Yang Dingtian was crazily swallowed and moved thousands of miles per hour. It had been almost 10 hours. Yang Dingtian was really about to break down. Just when he was about to completely give up on knowing time and let himself move crazily. Everything was over. The crazily swallowing stopped, and the crazily moving stopped. Whoosh! Then, his body suddenly rushed into a pool of crystal clear water, and his whole body was ice cold. Then he looked up. Damn it, he was going crazy, he was going completely crazy. Once again he saw a familiar scene, the 2 suns in the sky, and the clear blue sky. Above the water was the evil yin-yang mirror. Yang Dingtian could not help but curse in his heart. Son of a bitch, son of a bitch. He went in a circle, south to the north, and then south to the toxic sea area. He found a whirlpool at the bottom of the sea, and then was sucked in by the whirlpool. He was sucked in for almost 10 hours, and then returned to the yin-yang mirror again. Yang Dingtian had never felt so ridiculous before, and he really had the urge to cry. Then he was about to rush out of the water again and return to the yin-yang mirror. But soon he immediately gave up on this impulse. Because he found that he was in the heavy water, and there was no anti-gravity. One had to know that when he jumped into the water from the yin-yang mirror, he would be anti-gravity. At this time, it was completely the same as normal water, vertical gravity. Yang Dingtian was shocked, and he almost rushed out of the water. He was less than half a foot away from the yin-yang mirror. Then Yang Dingtian quickly dived. As he dived, Yang Dingtian prayed, "Please don't return to the yin-yang mirror, please don't, or he would really break down." Yang Dingtian's speed was incomparably fast, and he kept diving and diving. He directly dived for tens of thousands of meters. Swoosh! Yang Dingtian rushed out of the heavy water layer. He's here, Yang Dingtian succeeded, and he finally reached the world below the yin-yang mirror. This was really an incomparably mysterious world. The entire world was completely dark and empty. Moreover, there was no gravity here except for the heavy water above his head. Everything was completely empty. Yang Dingtian knew that this was the tearing of the world which led to this void. In the distance, there was a faint ball of light, which was gently wriggling. This ball of light seemed to be connected to the yin-yang mirror and the Earth's core below the void. What was that? Was it the Empire of Darkness passage, or the Shen vein essence? Yang Dingtian could not help but be excited, and quickly flew over. Chapter 909. Yang Dingtian flew towards the light. He found that although it looked very close, it was actually very far, more than a few hundred miles away. After flying closer, Yang Dingtian was certain that this was the mystic meridian essence. Wu Yoming's research was completely correct. This profound vein essence was indeed a kind of energy life. Because some kind of tear occurred in the world, The energy exchange between the surface and the Earth's core completely relied on these profound vein essences. However, this profound vein essence was completely different from Yang Dingtian's imagination. In Yang Dingtian's impression, the profound vein essence should be similar to the human body's veins. At most, it would not exceed 3 to 5 feet, which was dozens or hundreds of veins. But in fact, the profound vein essence in front of him, he didn't know how long it was. It could be tens of thousands of meters, hundreds of miles, or thousands of miles. In short, its top was connected to the yin-yang mirror's heavy water, and its bottom was connected to the depths of the Earth's crust. Moreover, its number was completely endless. Even Yang Dingtian didn't know how many veins there were, but it was definitely not less than thousands or tens of thousands of veins. In short, this was an extremely complicated system of veins. At this time, each profound vein essence was shining with a mysterious light. He could clearly see the energy coming and going, and the light inside was shuttling back and forth. Of course, what Yang Dingtian didn't know was that the profound vein essence collected by his master, Dongfang Minmi, was indeed only a few feet long. Because the classification of the profound vein essence was perhaps even more exaggerated than the human's profound vein. The profound vein essence could be divided by age and also by energy level. Divided by age, there were dozens of years, 1 or 200 years, 1,000 years, and 10,000 years. Divided by energy level, it could be a profound vein essence born in a mountain, or a profound vein essence born in a lake. Then what was the level of the profound vein essence in front of him? Only God knew. Perhaps the profound vein essence existed for as long as the yin-yang mirror existed. Not only that, these profound vein essences were born in the yin-yang mirror. So no matter from which perspective, the profound vein essence here was undoubtedly the highest level. Its level had even exceeded the knowledge of human martial artists. Since he found the profound vein essence, the next step was to collect it. How to collect the profound vein essence? His master, Dongfang Minmi, had once taught Yang Dingtian this. This was an extremely complicated process. It was no less complicated than the most complicated surgery. It was very simple. All he had to do was remove the profound vein essence from the node. This node was the root of the profound vein essence. As long as he kept it, he could grow a brand new profound vein essence in the future. But at the same time, you must not break any of them, and you must not destroy any of the energy flow inside. The profound vein essence was extremely powerful and could withstand extremely powerful energy attacks. However, it was very, very fragile. As long as the energy circulating in it leaked out, as long as the energy dried up, it would immediately wither and turn into ashes in an instant. Therefore, Yang Dingtian had to remove them from the nodes one by one, but he couldn't destroy the energy flow inside. Very quickly, Yang Dingtian found the node of the profound vein essence. It was an energy ball of light. It was inside the heavy water, and countless profound vein essences were growing from it. Because the profound vein essence ignored any physical damage and could withstand extremely powerful energy damage, it was impossible to cut it off. It could only be removed from the nodes. Seeing the densely packed profound vein essence on the nodes, Yang Dingtian's scalp went numb. There were at least tens of thousands of them, and each of them were intertwined with each other, forming a very, very complicated circulatory system. Yang Dingtian took out 1,000-year owl's demon core from his bosom. For a long time, this demon core would temporarily replace the role of the nodes and act as the energy circulation center of the countless profound vein essences. Next, it was time to test Yang Dingtian's speed. He took a deep breath, and then he started. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Yang Dingtian's speed was truly fast to the extreme. Using profound chi energy, he pulled out the profound vein essences from the nodes one by one, and then quickly inserted them into the 1,000-year owl's demon core. His speed was completely insane. There were at least dozens to hundreds of them per second. There was no other way. He had to be this fast. Otherwise, these profound vein essences would be damaged. Every profound vein essence's opening was exposed to the vacuum for no more than 1/100th of a second. Of course, as long as it was not more than 1/10th of a second, it would be fine. But Yang Dingtian could do it 10 times. These profound vein essences directly drilled into the owl's demon core as soon as they touched it. That's right, the extremely hard thousand-year owl's demon core could not be pierced even by the bloody black gold sword. These soft profound vein essences could be easily drilled in. Then, he continued to exchange energy with the owl's demon core. The profound vein essences were extremely heaven-defying. As long as it was energy, it could do it, no matter if it was strong or weak, and no matter what attribute it was. Just like this, hundreds of profound vein essences were extracted every second. After a full 5 minutes, the collection of profound vein essences was completed. These 5 minutes were an unprecedented 5 minutes for Yang Dingtian, and it was also the most tiring 5 minutes. His profound qi and spirit were almost completely exhausted. After the last profound vein essence was pulled out from the node, suddenly, whoosh, the more than 30,000 profound vein essences suddenly shrank. One by one, they broke away from the depths of the Earth's crust thousands of miles below and became only 3 feet long. This scene was incomparably mysterious and incomparably gorgeous. Previously, tens of thousands of profound vein essences were thousands of miles long, but when gathered together, they were dozens of meters thick. In an instant, they shrank to only 3 feet long and as thick as an arm. However, it was still a complete energy circulation system. The reason why it shrank to such a small size was because the energy it needed to transmit had shrunk countless times. Previously, the energy transmitted and circulated was a full tenth of the yin-yang mirror, but now it only needed to circulate a demon core. Although this was a thousand-year owl's demon core, it was only a tenth of the yin-yang mirror's energy, not even a millionth. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, the entire yin-yang mirror shook violently. Then Yang Dingtian was shocked to see the heavy water layer of the yin-yang mirror above his head suddenly fall. That's right, the entire yin-yang mirror fell directly. Yang Dingtian flew down quickly and dodged the fall of the entire yin-yang mirror. This fall lasted for half a minute. The entire yin-yang mirror directly sank tens of thousands of meters. That's right, tens of thousands of meters. Yang Dingtian knew that he had destroyed the energy circulation balance between the yin-yang mirror and the depths of the Earth's crust. He collected a profound vein essence, which caused the entire yin-yang mirror to collapse tens of thousands of meters. Looking at the dark void that stretched for tens of thousands of miles, there were more than 100 balls of light in the hundreds of thousands of miles. In other words, there were hundreds of profound vein essences in the entire yin-yang mirror, and these hundreds of profound vein essences maintain the energy balance between the yin-yang mirror and the entire world. Once Yang Dingtian collected all these profound vein essences, the consequence would be the collapse of the entire yin-yang mirror. Tens of thousands of miles of the yin-yang mirror would collapse. When the entire yin-yang mirror entered another kind of balance again, Yang Dingtian sat and floated in the air, recovering his profound qi. Next, he would plant this profound vein essence into the soul sword. If collecting the profound vein essence was very troublesome and complicated, then planting the profound vein essence into the profound vein was undoubtedly no less than connecting countless capillaries together. The difficulty and finesse of this task should be second only to carving the black vortex in the ring. After an hour, Yang Dingtian's profound qi energy had completely recovered. He took out his soul sword that was close to the emperor rank and floated in the air. Then, he released the million-spirit demon fire and raised the temperature to the extreme. Soon, the entire soul sword that was close to the emperor rank began to melt. Because this was a vacuum, and there was zero gravity. Therefore, the soul sword that was close to the emperor rank after melting was still intact. This was even better. It was more convenient for him to transplant the profound vein essence and carve the entire energy circulation system in the soul sword that was close to the emperor rank. It was equivalent to the meridians of the human body. How difficult was this? It was to use profound qi energy to carve tens of thousands of channels in the interior of a treasured sword, and the largest would not be more than 1/10 of the size of a strand of hair. The smallest could not be described as an object. There was no other way. Who asked the profound vein essence that Yang Dingtian collected to be so awesome? If it was just an ordinary profound vein essence, he only needed to carve a few hundred channels. Yang Dingtian first entered meditation. In his mind, he imagined the structure of this soul sword that was close to the emperor rank. Then, he constructed the three-dimensional blueprint of the channel in meditation. Moreover, Queen Poisa helped to perfect it, preserving the most minute structure. This was really an incomparably complicated process. However, it was still not as complicated as carving the dark vortex. Fortunately, time could be slowed down many times in the meditation space. In the meditation space, Yang Dingtian and Queen Poisa did not sleep or rest. It took them more than a month to completely construct the internal meridian system of the entire soul sword. This work was too meticulous, and it was not purely energy. It also involved real matter. Therefore, there were as many as 8 failures along the way. Of course, a month in the meditation space was only a day in reality. Once the design of the internal structure was completed, the rest of the process became simple. Strictly according to the structure in his mind, Yang Dingtian's profound fire energy quickly completed the carving in the soul sword that was close to the emperor rank. This work was actually very similar to the carving of circuit boards on modern Earth. Whoosh 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 whoosh, profound chi energy and profound fire energy quickly flowed in the soul sword that was close to the emperor rank. One must know that these channels were completely connected. The entrance was at the sword hilt, which was the place where the sea spirit crystal would be placed in the future. It was equivalent to the sea of chi. And the entrance was at the tip of the sword. The profound fire energy first carved a main energy meridian in the soul sword. Then, it quickly dispersed into 4 energy and began to carve the branch meridian. Then it divided into 8, 16. In the end, it was completely hundreds of energy, operating together and carving in the soul sword. This was actually very similar to a programming system. First, a framework was designed, and then it would run automatically. Speaking of which, it was all thanks to Yang Dingtian's comprehension of the divine realm. Otherwise, he would have to honestly carve a profound fire energy from the beginning to the end. This would take several months to complete. One must know that at that time, his master, Dongfang Minmi, only had a few hundred channels of the soul sword meridian. It took him 10 days and 10 nights to complete. After Yang Dingtian designed the meridian framework, he used the martial arts civilization code to write a simple energy scroll. Then, the energy scroll would automatically control the circulation of the profound fire and profound chi energy. In this way, Yang Dingtian only needed to be responsible for the output of the profound fire and profound chi. The rest would be completed automatically. And it would be 100% accurate. There would be no error, and there would not be a situation of failure. In this way, Yang Dingtian completed all the tasks that would take several months in just half a day. The carving of the internal meridian system of the soul sword had been completed. Next was the last step, which was to transplant the profound meridian essence into the meridian system of the soul sword. This should be the most difficult and tiring step. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath. He did not rest but wanted to do it in one go. Unfortunately, he could not write an energy scroll to transplant the profound meridian essence. Otherwise, it would be simple. Of course, the scroll was easy to write. But the key was to control the profound chi and pick up each strand of profound meridian essence. This was too difficult and required manpower. The scroll could not be completed. Therefore, Yang Dingtian had to be honest and transplant each strand of profound meridian essence into the soul sword. Closing his eyes, he calmed himself down for a moment and gathered all his energy. Next, Yang Dingtian began the rapid process again. He began to transplant the entire profound meridian essence. First, it was the main meridian. This was very simple. Next, it was the branch meridian. Next, it was the branch meridian. Yang Dingtian's movements were very, very fast. But no matter how fast he was, it still took 1 or 2 seconds to transplant one strand. And he could not make any mistakes. If he made a mistake, he would have to repeat all the steps in this step. Just like this, time flew by quickly. 2 hours passed, 4 hours passed, a full day and night passed. Yang Dingtian finally transplanted the last strand of profound meridian essence into the soul sword. Finally, he suddenly transplanted the Millennium Owl's demon core into the sword hilt. Whoosh! An ice-cold Xian Qi swept past. The soul sword that was close to the emperor grade suddenly froze. It's done, it's done. Yang Dingtian was on the verge of tears. He had spent the entire day and night concentrating his mind and transplanting the strands one by one. He was truly on the verge of collapse. He had never completed such a complicated and terrifying task before. Now it was finally done. Yang Dingnan almost collapsed to the ground and then slept for a few days and nights. However, he could not sleep yet. At this time, the soul sword was already mostly completed. The only thing missing was the Sea of Qi. But the Millennium Owl's demon core could barely be used as a small sea of Qi. It could barely store some profound Qi. Holding the soul sword that was close to the emperor grade in his hand, Yang Dingtian could clearly feel the huge changes. First of all, this treasure sword was no longer golden. Instead, it was faintly transparent. Inside, it was flowing with brilliant colors. Next, he had to try and see if he could summon the sword spirit. Yes, it was the sword spirit. Chapter 9-10. Sword spirit should be the pinnacle of martial arts in this world, and also the most difficult obstacle to overcome in martial arts. From the first bloody black gold or to forging, everything had to be done by oneself. Although the profound vein essence and sea spirit crystal were incomparably precious. But the most difficult part of cultivating a sword spirit was to cultivate a sword spirit that was connected to one's own heart. In layman's terms, it was the soul of the sword. Previously, Yang Dingtian had only smelled it and did not delve into it, so he did not have much understanding of the sword spirit. Why would a sword have a life? Why would it have a soul? Now, Yang Dingtian understood that the foundation of a soul sword was actually the blood of the blacksmith when forging the sword and the divine sense injected during forging. Sprinkling his blood and injecting his divine sense was like a soul contract. When the young sword and its master's heart were connected for many years, after fighting together, it would possess the most primitive spirituality. Then it would be forged again. This time, the blacksmith would need to use the profound flame to forge. And the profound flame itself had a life, and it would live and die together with its master. Therefore, the second forging process using the profound flame was actually a way to deepen the soul contract, and another way to inject the master's divine sense and will. At this time, the higher the grade of the soul sword forged, the higher the spirituality produced, and the fewer barriers between the soul sword and the master. In the end, the real life was given. Yang Dingtian felt that it was very likely to be the profound vein essence. Previously, almost no one realized that the profound vein essence was a kind of energy life. They all felt that it was a kind of treasure, but did not realize that it was a kind of life, and a life without self-consciousness. When this kind of energy life was transplanted into the sword, the primal chaos divine sense in the sword immediately found a host. It was as if the consciousness had entered a life form, and from then on, it had become an intelligent life form. Therefore, the moment the primal chaos divine sense and the profound vein essence life form combined, the sword spirit had already been born. However, this life form was still very young, just like a baby. To let it learn how to fight, it still needed a long time to patiently teach and countless subtle influences. After that, this sword spirit would then become an independent fighting entity and fight side by side with its master. Yang Dingtian's soul sword should be too outstanding. It was close to the emperor grade soul sword, so when it was still a young sword, it already had the primal chaos divine sense. Later, a portion of energy from the Naga royalty demon core also flowed into the soul sword. Therefore, Yang Dingtian's sword spirit was much more complex than others, and also much more mature. Although he didn't have any sea spirit crystals now, he only had the Night Owl's demon core, which was barely enough to serve as his sea of qi. And most importantly, it would interfere with the sword spirit. Therefore, almost everyone only started to summon the sword soul after transplanting the sea spirit crystal. But Yang Dingtian was... Acho! Yang Dingtian called out. Wah! Immediately, Yang Dingtian received a reaction. This was the primal chaos divine sense in Yang Dingtian's soul sword previously. But it had gone through a long period of deep sleep and then was suppressed by the Naga royalty's energy. It had already been a long time since Yang Dingtian sensed it. After the injection of the profound vein essence, Ah Chao's primal chaos divine sense immediately had a life form and instantly became active in the soul sword. Come, shoot out a sword light, let me see? Yang Dingtian said. Wah! This was still the reply of the sword spirit Ah Chao. In Yang Dingtian's mind, he could almost imagine a naked baby lying on the ground, staring at Yang Dingtian with his eyes wide open, expressing, "What are you talking about? I don't understand." Yang Dingtian was speechless, and secretly laughed at himself for being too eager for quick success. Although his sword spirit did not need a long time to cultivate, and had already appeared directly. But, to let it battle, it still needed a long time to learn. Cultivating the sword spirit, there were mainly two aspects. The first aspect, the growth of cultivation. This was the same as humans, they needed to cultivate the qi, cultivate the profound veins, and cultivate their cultivation. The second aspect was martial techniques and profound skills. That's right, whatever 10,000 swords returned to origin, whatever flying sword, etc., all needed a long time to learn. The first aspect, the growth of cultivation. First of all, the soul sword had to continuously battle and continuously swallow the profound qi energy. But more importantly, it would depend on luck. Because the sea spirit crystal itself was a fossil of the qi-sea's energy body, it would more or less have some profound qi remaining inside. And if one were to encounter a high-grade sea spirit crystal, then the breakthrough would be by leaps and bounds. If one's luck was heaven-defying, perhaps one would obtain a sea spirit crystal with a very strong profound qi. And the second aspect, martial techniques and profound skills, was completely in the meditation world. The owner and the sword spirit would continuously communicate and continuously learn. Of course, although this kind of learning was not like a parent teaching a baby to talk or walk, but it was not much different. Luckily, the sword spirit and the owner's heart were connected. So when some martial techniques and profound skills were instilled, the sword spirit would naturally learn them. In this world, the number of people who knew sword spirit was pitifully few. Shimen Weia and Dongfang Minmi, once they unleashed their sword spirit, it would either be one sword toppling cities or 10,000 swords returned to origin. This was something that could not be helped, because there were only a few types of sword spirit that could be cultivated. Just 10,000 swords returned to origin would take around 10 years, so the majority of sword spirit owners had not had the time to learn higher-level soul skills. Ah Chao, try shooting out a sword light, it's very easy, as long as you shoot out the energy in your qi, it's done. Yang Dingtian used his mind to communicate with the sword spirit Ah Chao. Wah! Sword spirit Ah Chao still only had this one reaction. Ah Chao, can you not keep Wah? Yang Dingtian was speechless. Wah wah. Finally understanding Yang Dingtian's wah, the sword spirit Ah Chao was very excited and immediately shouted, wah, twice. From the looks of it, although he had a sword spirit now, but it was still very far away from battle. Currently, the sword spirit Ah Chao could only be used to act cute. What was strange was that the energy of the Naga royalty did not have any movement, as if it had already disappeared. Sword spirit Ah Chao only knew how to act cute and not battle. Didn't that mean that this sword had no use at all? The current sword spirit only did not know how to fight independently, but it could let the owner's soul command the battle. That's right, that meant that Yang Dingtian could directly use his consciousness to control this treasure sword to battle, which meant that Yang Dingtian's consciousness could directly control Ah Chao and obtain all the commanding rights of this treasure sword. If that was the case, what could he accomplish? The most basic thing was the flying sword. Even if Yang Dingtian's profound veins were sealed, even if Yang Dingtian did not have any profound energy left, he could still control the soul sword to accomplish anything. For example, whoosh! Like a ray of light, this soul sword shot out. Its speed completely exceeded 1,000 meters per second. Under the control of Yang Dingtian's consciousness, This soul sword flew further and further, faster and faster. Finally, it was so fast that the naked eye could not even see it clearly. As for how far it could fly, it would depend on how high the quality of this soul sword was, how pure the sword spirit was, and how strong Yang Dingtian's mental power was. The soul sword flew further and finally flew out over 100 miles. Furthermore, during the entire process, Yang Dingtian did not use any profound energy. It was the soul sword that was using his profound energy. Finally, Yang Dingtian felt that it was somewhat strenuous to control it. 109 miles was the current limit that Yang Dingtian's consciousness could control the soul sword. Of course, as he continued to cultivate, this distance would become further and further. So in the end, from 1,000 miles away, it was completely possible to take someone's head. Yang Dingtian immediately summoned the sword spirit back. After a moment, a ray of light whizzed over and floated in front of him. Pig-slaying swordsmanship, Yang Dingtian ordered, then used his consciousness to control the soul sword and executed the pig-slaying swordsmanship. Sure enough, without anyone controlling it, this soul sword executed the pig-slaying swordsmanship in the void. The sword move was very sharp, basically no different from Yang Dingtian's personal use. Of course, this was all that could be done now. In the future, he could even control the soul sword to directly release profound skills. Therefore, Devil Sky Splitting Lightning, Flame Blade, and the like, Yang Dingtian could use his consciousness to control the soul sword to release them. Of course, the reason why this soul sword could release Devil Sky Splitting Lightning was entirely because of this Night Owl Demon Core's temporary Qi. Zhao Mu's father, Zhao Wuji, had done this before. In the end, there was no way to suppress the evil aura in the demon core, so he could not control that sword spirit at all. This treasure sword also became a natural weapon. For Yang Dingtian's soul sword in front of him, there was no need to worry about the demon core's backlash. Firstly, because of this heaven-defying Xian Meridian essence, Ah Chao's vitality was extremely strong. In addition to Yang Dingtian's sage-to-be cultivation, suppressing the evil aura of the Millennium Owl's demon core was a matter of minutes. Of course, what was the Qi cultivation of Yang Dingtian's soul sword now? Yang Dingtian was not completely sure, but it should depend on this Millennium Owl's demon core. However, this was not a sea spirit crystal after all, not a real Qi. Therefore, after the energy in the demon core was depleted, it would be very difficult to absorb Xian Qi and recover Xian Qi. Therefore, to obtain a real sword spirit, a sword spirit that could cultivate on its own and increase its cultivation, it would still require sea spirit crystals. Furthermore, if Yang Dingtian's luck was off the charts and he was able to obtain a very high-grade sea soul crystal, then Yang Dingtian would be rich. At that time, he would see a miracle in the history of cultivation. At that time, the breakthrough speed of the sword spirit's cultivation would make humans go crazy with jealousy. The key was still to obtain a high-grade sea spirit crystal. Although the soul sword was fun and magical, Yang Dingtian had no choice but to put it down reluctantly. Time was tight. He should go and find the entrance to the Legion of Doom and the Empire of Darkness. He kept the soul sword and flew down to the abyss of nothingness. Chapter 9:11. This abyss of nothingness was almost as deep as Yang Dingtian had imagined. It was almost 2,000 miles long. Yang Dingtian spat out the Xian fire. After an hour, he could faintly see the bottom of the abyss. It was a dark red color. And more importantly, Yang Dingtian was still hundreds of miles away, but he could already feel the extreme heat. Yang Dingtian continued to fly deeper. He discovered that it was getting hotter and hotter. Finally, the temperature around him had already exceeded a few thousand degrees. And at this time, he was still dozens of miles away from that dark red mass. This temperature had already exceeded the temperature of the magma in the second dark domain. As he flew further down, the temperature rose sharply. It actually reached over 10,000 degrees. In order to resist this terrifying temperature, Yang Dingtian had no choice but to release an equivalent amount of ice-cold energy to neutralize it. Therefore, his Xian Qi dropped with a whoosh. When he had completely landed at the bottom of the abyss, Yang Dingtian's Xian Qi had already surged out like a tidal wave. Because the temperature here had already reached an extremely shocking several tens of thousands of degrees, and some gas had evaporated from this dark red mass. Therefore, it could conduct heat for nearly 100 miles. Even with Yang Dingtian's half-sage cultivation, it was also very difficult to stay in this environment for too long. He carefully observed this dark red high-temperature material. He discovered that it was not magma. It was a kind of solid. It was also not a red-hot metal or a red-hot rock. Under this temperature, it was not realistic for Yang Dingtian to drill his body into it. But he already had a soul sword. Immediately, using his consciousness to control the soul sword, he fiercely stabbed into this dark red mass. Wow, so hard! Even if the soul sword near the Emperor grade pierced in, it was still somewhat strenuous. The soul sword near the Emperor grade continued to drill in, drill in, drill in. Finally, after penetrating nearly 100 miles, the temperature inside had already reached an astonishing several 100,000 degrees. Fortunately, it was a soul sword near the Emperor grade. Otherwise, any other material would have long been turned into ashes. This temperature was already almost equivalent to the core temperature of an atomic bomb explosion. But Yang Dingtian's soul sword was still not damaged at all. But, very quickly, the Ah Cho soul sword had also reached its limit because Yang Dingtian's consciousness could only control it to a maximum distance of 109 miles. However, there was still no end to this dark red, high-temperature crust. It was boundless. Yang Dingtian withdrew his Ah Cho soul sword. Yang Dingtian wouldn't be able to stay in the temperature of a few 100,000 degrees for too long. Therefore, it was impossible for him to enter the dark red Earth's crust personally. Furthermore, Yang Dingtian's profound qi had been greatly depleted, so he had to leave this terrifyingly high-temperature environment to replenish his profound qi. Yang Dingtian flew back to the ice-cold void, then sat cross-legged on the treasured sword, swallowed the profound gathering pill, and began to recover his battle profound qi. After recovering his battle profound qi, Yang Dingtian began to think of other ways to find the so-called entrance. Thus, he released countless vengeful spirits that densely covered the area within 100 miles. In the end, this made Yang Dingtian very surprised. All the vengeful spirits reacted. But their reactions weren't intense, and they all followed a fixed trajectory, trembling in unison. All the wraiths were trembling. Yang Dingtian was instantly puzzled. How could this be? This was clearly a vacuum. There wasn't even gravity here, and there weren't any energy fluctuations. So why were the wraiths trembling in unison? Then, Yang Dingtian moved to another direction. He discovered that it was the same. Countless wraiths were all trembling in unison. This was really strange. This was clearly a vacuum. There was clearly zero gravity here. So why were there energy fluctuations? Next, Yang Dingtian thought of countless ways, but he couldn't find any so-called entrance and couldn't find anything at all. He also couldn't find the reason for the energy fluctuations. In the end, Yang Dingtian decided to use a space door. He used the darkness profound flame to create a space whirlpool and drew out a black hole, isolating a space. Then he used a special frequency, special speed, and special attribute profound flame to slam into it. A magnificent space door appeared in the isolated space. Yang Dingtian was completely dumbfounded. On the other side of the space door, there was a mass of distorted and blurry light. But he could vaguely see that in this mass of light, there was a huge castle and a ferocious and terrifying monster. At this time, he could see its green eyes. And behind it, there were countless green eyes. Through the space door, he could actually see another world? Then, should he jump over it? Jumping over it meant danger. Yang Dingtian still decided to jump over, wanting to avoid danger. The moment he jumped over, he immediately turned invisible. Whoosh! Yang Dingtian jumped over the space door, and then turned invisible immediately. Then he was ready to accept the shock, ready to welcome the new world. But, nothing. It was still in this abyss of nothingness. What was going on? He had clearly seen another world, so why couldn't he jump over the space door? This was too strange. Next, Yang Dingtian tried many times, but in the end he only jumped around in the abyss and did not enter the new world. If Wu Yoming's theory was correct, then Yang Dingtian's glimpse at the space door was the Empire of Darkness. But why couldn't he jump over Yang Dingtian's space door? Yang Dingtian stroked his fingers, and as he touched them, he thought. His ring finger was wearing a space ring. The ring finger of his other hand was wearing a soul ring. The middle finger of his right hand was wearing the Yin-Yang School's leader's token. When he touched the leader's token, Yang Dingtian's mind was suddenly in a trance. It had been a long time since he touched this leader's token, and Yang Dingtian even almost forgot about this ring. Instinctively, Grandmaster Yang Dingtian did not want to touch this ring because it would remind him of some memories with Dongfang Bingling. Moreover, Yang Dingtian felt that this token was no longer of much use to him. Now that his master had returned, he was once again the head of the Yin-Yang School. However, Yang Dingtian actually forgot to return this token to his master. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian remembered that his master had once said that this token contained some secrets, and that he could only open it after he became the head of the Yin-Yang School. Secrets? What secrets? Instinctively, Yang Dingtian felt that this ring would not be of any use to him, so he had never tried to open it even after his cultivation had reached a high level. Yang Dingtian remembered that the secret his master had mentioned was the secret of this world, the secret of his imprisonment in this world of ice and snow, and not the secret of martial arts. And it was very strange that his master had never mentioned this matter after he was resurrected. It was as if this part of his memory did not exist. Yang Dingtian inserted his celestial qi and took off the ring. This was just an ordinary crystal ring, and he could not tell what kind of crystal it was made of. However, when he inserted his celestial qi, he clearly felt an energy barrier. Of course, this barrier was not big, and it was only the cultivation of a great grandmaster. Yang Dingtian's celestial qi easily broke through this barrier. Puff! After breaking through this barrier, Yang Dingtian's celestial qi suddenly entered the depths of the ring. Swoosh! Then, a ray of light suddenly shot out from the ring and into the dark abyss. Oh, that's right, this ring was made of the highest grade recording crystal. Yang Dingtian remembered that many of the head's token rings in this world were made of recording crystal and then wrapped in a layer of void stone. And in this recording crystal, there would be the image of the previous head, who would personally say that he would pass the position of head to the next head. In this way, there would be irrefutable evidence, and there would be no need to fear that someone would usurp the throne. Therefore, the head's token ring had authority. And Dongfang Minmi did not use this head's token ring at the critical moment, but recorded his last moments of freedom. In the picture, there was a world of ice and snow. Suddenly, as if fire was floating in the sky, light shot in all directions. Then, the glaciers in the surrounding dozens of miles instantly melted. In an instant, the hard ice melted down hundreds of miles, thousands of miles deep. At the bottom of the melted ice, a terrifying dark door, like the mouth of hell, was constantly rotating. Although the picture was very blurry, Yang Dingtian could tell at a glance that this dark door was the kind of dark matter that swallowed everything at the bottom of the sea. This dark matter was not afraid of any physical damage, any energy damage. Wu Yuming chose to be swallowed by this dark matter, and perished together with the first-class evil spirit. Before Yang Dingtian could see the dark door under the ice clearly, the whole picture was immediately enveloped by a huge figure. A figure whose entire body was hidden in the darkness, whose face and clothes couldn't be seen, just a black shadow, suddenly appeared in front of Dongfang Minmi. Then, he slammed his palm toward Dongfang Minmi. The picture shook violently, and then it completely ended. Next, Dongfang Minmi was imprisoned under the world of ice and snow. Master did not lie. This was indeed one of the top secrets of this world. Dongfang Minmi had explored the world for his entire life, and finally found this dark door in the world of ice and snow. Yang Dingtian was absolutely sure that this dark door was the entrance to the Empire of Darkness, the entrance to the countless Legion of Doom. This entrance was made of dark matter. Therefore, no one could enter, and no one could come out. Of course, Yang Dingtian could enter because he had the tear of the primordial Naga. Evil ways could also enter and exit. They would definitely be able to open the door of darkness. At that time, the Armageddon Legion would surge out like a tidal wave. Yang Dingtian could not hide the shock in his heart at all. Master Dongfang Minmi had really discovered the ultimate secret of this world. But why had he never said anything after his resurrection? Could it be that he had damaged a lot of his memories when he was annihilated? Or was there another reason? But what could be the reason? Then, Yang Dingtian was once again amazed by Wu Yoming's talent. It was really amazing. He knew nothing about the Legion of Doom and the Empire of Darkness. However, he could infer from the speed of destruction that the Empire of Darkness was under the Demon Domain and the Yin-Yang Mirror. Of course, he left out the world of ice and snow. Because the world of ice and snow was covered by ice and snow, he could not see the vitality of this continent. However, he also mentioned that the world of ice and snow was also an abnormal continent, and there might be Xian vein essence below. Wu Yuming was really amazing. At that moment, Yang Dingtian immediately left the abyss of nothingness and entered the heavy water layer of the Yin-Yang Mirror. Then he kept rushing up. Soon he rushed through the heavy water layer, rushed out of the water, and arrived above the Yin-Yang Mirror. At this moment, Yang Dingtian thought, if he dived down from the Yin-Yang Mirror again, could he still reach the abyss of nothingness below? He immediately dived into the heavy water layer again and dived down. As soon as he entered, he immediately entered anti-gravity. Then he kept diving down. After diving for more than 100 miles, he suddenly rushed out of the water and came to the surface of the Yin-Yang Mirror again. There was no way to enter the world under the Yin-Yang Mirror. It was really mysterious. If he wanted to enter the world under the Yin-Yang Mirror again, the only way was to go to the underground whirlpool of the highly poisonous sea area and be sucked into the world under the Yin-Yang Mirror. Yang Dingtian suddenly rose into the air and flew towards the northeast direction. His destination was the world of ice and snow. In less than a day, Yang Dingtian had already reached the sky above the world of ice and snow. It was a world of ice and snow tens of thousands of miles. Next, Yang Dingtian had to find the specific location of the Door of Darkness. In the image, Yang Dingtian clearly saw that the Door of Darkness was a few hundred miles in diameter. But where was it exactly? It really could not be seen because in the image there was ice and snow everywhere. It was exactly the same, and there was no special reference at all. The only place that could be used as a reference was the place where his master, Dongfang Minmi, was imprisoned. Obviously, that black shadow would not imprison his master within the range of the Door of Darkness. However, it might not necessarily imprison him too far away. Hence, the Door of Darkness should not be too far away from the place where his master was imprisoned. It should be within 1,000 miles. Hence, Yang Dingtian used his fastest speed to fly towards the place where his master was imprisoned, which was also the place where he had transmigrated. In less than half a day, Yang Dingtian had already returned to the place where he had transmigrated. Yang Dingtian judged that the Door of Darkness should be in the southwest of the place where his master was imprisoned, because that black shadow came from the west and easily defeated Dongfang Minmi. Then, when he wanted to imprison him, he would instinctively follow the original route and head towards the northeast. Yang Dingtian arrived at the place where he had transmigrated, which was 500 miles southwest of the place where he had transmigrated, and started to dig through the layer of ice. Using the occult fire to melt the layer of ice was completely silent and incomparably fast. 50 miles, 100 miles, 300 miles, 500 miles. Very quickly, Yang Dingtian melted the ice and went down 1,000 miles under the layer of ice. Then an incomparably huge door of darkness appeared in front of him. He found it, found the entrance to the Empire of Darkness, found the location of countless Legion of Doom. Yang Dingtian's entire body felt a chill down his spine. Chapter 9:12. The Door of Darkness had a diameter of several hundred miles. It looked like there was nothing there. It was just a mass of darkness, a darkness that devoured everything. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian had a question. Dark matter was an extremely terrifying thing. It would devour everything in a frenzy. However, this door of darkness did not devour or spread. This boundless layer of ice was not directly connected to the door of darkness. In the middle was a layer of void, a void of several thousand meters. This door of darkness was not exquisite. Instead, it was constantly rotating, as if the dark matter was circulating on its own. Evil ways were actually so powerful that they could control the spread of the dark matter. Yang Dingtian turned invisible and arrived in front of the door of darkness. He took a deep breath. Behind this door was very likely the Empire of Darkness where the Legion of Doom was located. For Yang Dingtian, it was not as simple as a den of wolves or tigers. It was the most dangerous place in the world. However, there were many times when Yang Dingtian didn't have a choice. Whether it was the abyss or hell, he had to jump in. Of course, evil ways might have always thought that no one in the world could pass through this door of darkness. Yang Dingtian took out the eye of primogenitor Naga from his spatial ring. Yang Dingtian had taken this item from the statue of primogenitor Naga in the underwater maze. It could directly melt the dark matter. Holding the eye, Yang Dingtian approached the door of darkness. Nothing unexpected happened. A hole was directly melted in the huge door of darkness. Yang Dingtian turned invisible and used the demonic spirit mist cloak flash to rush into the hole. He entered this door of darkness that no one could enter. It was a very strange feeling. It was as if he was traveling through time. Yang Dingtian felt that he was going deeper, deeper, and deeper. After a long time, this feeling of traveling through time ended. Then, he was suddenly placed in a completely new world. First of all, after entering, there were no demons or ghosts. There was no danger. They were at the bottom of the sea, surrounded by seawater. There were no signs of the Maori barbarians, nor were there any signs of the Armageddon army. There was only clear seawater. Behind him, the door of darkness was nowhere to be seen. The only thing he could see was endless dark matter. At that moment, Yang Dingtian should be at the edge of the underwater world. All he could see with the naked eye was dark matter. Furthermore, it was constantly spreading and growing as though it was devouring the underwater world. Yang Dingtian carefully moved forward, but he was still in an invisible state. Even after moving forward for a very long time, they still didn't see anything, let alone the Legion of Doom. Yang Dingtian kept moving forward for over 100 miles. Finally, Yang Dingtian saw a building. This was not a stone building, nor was it a wooden building. It was a coral building. That's right, it was a coral building, a small house, which looked very exquisite and beautiful. Yang Dingtian cautiously approached, but he didn't find anyone, so he cautiously entered the coral hut. What a beautiful house, full of romantic atmosphere. Inside, there was a crystal mirror, seabed flowers, and a small bed made of special aquatic plants. Such a warm and beautiful place, could it be the Empire of Darkness? Yang Dingtian fell into doubt. At that moment, Yang Dingtian suddenly felt a burst of numbness, and then he was hit by a powerful electric current, and his entire body fell into paralysis. Of course, he has the demon spirit black armor, which can resist a lot of energy damage, but this is the water, where electricity is everywhere. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian felt that it was very strange. He was obviously invisible. Why was there still someone who could see him and attack him? But soon Yang Dingtian understood that the significance of being invisible in the water is not great, because when passing by, there will still be traces left behind. Although this electric current is very powerful, it is completely harmless to Yang Dingtian. However, he pretended to be unconscious from the electric current and directly revealed his original form, floating on the water. Anyway, before entering the door of darkness, he had already changed his appearance. Seeing that Yang Dingtian had fainted, that sneak attacker finally revealed himself. From the cave of the coral house, a delicate figure came out. It turned out to be a pink electric eel, more than 3 meters long. This pink eel was covered in fish, except for the part above the neck that had a human face. It was a very petite and cute girl. She also had 2 very small arms, which were also covered in pink fish scales. She looked very scared and carefully swam up and approached Yang Dingnan. Pa 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 pa. She suddenly sent out a burst of electric current, making Yang Dingtian tremble. Probably determined that Yang Dingtian was completely electrocuted, she swam over and dragged her body, desperately dragging Yang Dingtian outside. Obviously, she didn't want Yang Dingtian to die in her house. Yang Dingtian woke up, caught her, and then forced her to tell him what happened here. Suddenly, a violent noise came from outside. This pink eel was suddenly scared out of her wits and immediately drilled into the cave of the coral house and disappeared without a trace. As for Yang Dingtian, he immediately entered the state of concealment. Soon, a few black shadows came to a stop. It's the mermaid warriors, it's the mermaid warriors. However, these mermaid warriors are completely different from what Yang Dingtian imagined. They don't have the beauty of the mermaid clan at all. On the contrary, they are very ferocious. This is a male mermaid warrior with a human body, but with a fish face, and it's the kind of fish that is similar to the face of a dragon, with long whiskers and deep eye sockets, looking very terrifying. Their human bodies are still covered with scales, and they are more than 3 meters tall. After these mermaid warriors rushed in, they immediately and easily tore down the entire coral house, and then caught the little pink eel. The pink eel kept releasing electric energy, but it didn't cause much damage to these mermaid warriors. One of the mermaid warriors slammed the fork in his hand and immediately knocked the pink eel unconscious. Then they took out a huge cage and directly threw the pink eel in, and Yang Dingtian immediately turned invisible and drilled into the cage. There is no doubt that these mermaid warriors didn't notice Yang Dingtian at all, and directly left with the cage. Next, Yang Dingtian witnessed the disaster of the underwater empire with his own eyes. Countless electric eels and giant octopuses were all caught. Countless mermaid warriors captured all the underwater races with combat power. The team of mermaid warriors that Yang Dingtian followed had a total of more than a dozen and a total of 30 cages. After the captured prey filled up the 30 cages, they immediately set off towards a place. Then Yang Dingtian saw a very, very familiar underwater giant beast. Yes, it's an underwater owl, exactly the same as Yang Dingtian's ancient giant beast, Xiao Xiao. The small one was less than a fraction of Xiao Xiao's size. But in this team, the largest ancient giant beast was even bigger than Xiao Xiao. Countless cages were filled with octopuses, electric eels, and all kinds of underwater monsters. A total of hundreds of ancient owls, carrying hundreds of thousands of cages, swam towards a direction. Tens of thousands of mermaid warriors, densely packed, were commanding these hundreds of ancient giant beasts. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian almost suffocated. The Council of Light, with just one ancient giant beast, had already dominated the entire sea of the human countries. And in front of him, there were hundreds of ancient giant beasts. At this time, Yang Dingtian was completely sure of where he was. This is the ancient underwater civilization of the Mermaid Empire. In ancient times, it was a power second only to the Naga Empire and was on par with the Sea Serpent Empire. Like the Sea Serpent clan, it was also the ancestor of the Naga race, so it was proudly preserved. However, before the ancient destruction, the Naga destroyed the entire Sea Serpent Empire and should have completely destroyed the entire Mermaid Empire. It was unexpected that the Mermaid Empire had survived. Moreover, it actually escaped the ancient destruction. However, it was obvious that the Mermaid Empire was also facing a very terrible situation. The entire underwater world was constantly being devoured by the dark matter. A huge team, majestic and mighty, gathered in one direction. Yang Dingtian found that the underwater army around him was increasing and increasing and increasing and increasing. The ancient giant beasts, from hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands. The mermaid warriors, from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions. And the various underwater monsters that were captured, from millions to tens of millions. Yang Dingtian felt dizzy. Hopefully, the largest undersea army in history was not going to attack the human countries. If that was the case, then Yang Dingtian's navy was completely a toy navy. the thousands of warships of the human countries had completely become toys. How many navies did the Mermaid Empire have? There were tens of thousands of terrifying ancient giant beasts of all sizes. The mermaid warriors in front of him were more than 1,000,000. And the various monsters that were captured were more than tens of millions. Such an astronomical number of navies could easily destroy Yang Dingtian's navy 100 times over. If this astronomical number of navies entered the human countries, it would definitely be a complete catastrophe. This astronomical number of navies advanced for a few days and nights. In the end, Yang Dingtian's front, back, left, and right were densely packed, spanning thousands of miles. They were all terrifying underwater armies. Finally, they arrived at their destination, an incomparably huge underwater city. This should be the capital of the Mermaid Empire, Shajing. A huge city spanning thousands of miles. However, in front of this astonishing underwater army, this city was still too small. On the tens of thousands of meters high city wall of Shajing, Yang Dingtian saw two figures. One was the king of the Mermaid Empire. The other was someone Yang Dingtian was extremely familiar with, the leader of the hidden sect, Nihility Piaoling. Of course, she had already become the Queen Devil Queen. The thing that Yang Dingtian was most worried about had happened. The Mermaid Empire and the evil ways had formed an alliance. Chapter 9:13. The Mermaid Empire and the Sea Serpent Empire were both matriarchal societies. Therefore, the Mermaid Empire was also a queen. In fact, compared to the Queen Hai Xian of the Serpent Empire, she was the true queen of the empire. That was because her empire had been passed down since ancient times. Yang Dingtian could not imagine that such a powerful and huge mermaid empire was hidden under the ice and snow of the Devil Domain. Just like Queen Hai Xian, the Mermaid Empire's queen no longer looked like a fish. She looked like a woman. She had long purple hair and a beauty that could rival Queen Hai Xian's. However, Queen Hai Xian's beauty was very beautiful, while the Mermaid Empire's beauty was very mysterious. However, there was no doubt that in terms of beauty and figure, the Mermaid Empire's queen, Queen Hai Xian, Queen Poisa, and Queen Devil Queen were on the same level. In fact, the Mermaid Empire's queen and Queen Devil Queen's beauty level was even higher than Queen Hai Xian and Queen Poisa's. Of course, this was already a feeling. The reason why the Mermaid Empire's Queen and Devil Queen's beauty was higher was not because of their figures and faces, but because of their aura. Aura was a very mysterious thing. Even in modern Earth, there were some female celebrities who were very beautiful, but after seeing them, they would soon forget them. There were also some female celebrities who were not as beautiful as the former, but they gave people a feeling of radiance. Countless men were willing to be filled with fanciful thoughts when looking at them. This was the aura. Therefore, the Mermaid Queen and the Queen Devil Queen, like Hai Xian and Poisa, had reached the pinnacle of beauty. However, in terms of aura, he was even stronger. Yang Dingtian noticed that there was no water in Shajing, the capital of the Mermaid Empire. That's right, the entire 1,000-mile city was completely covered by a powerful energy barrier. There was no water. The high-level mermaids had all completely transformed into human form, so they would leave the water. This devastatingly beautiful mermaid queen had a head of long purple hair that was almost as long as her dress. Furthermore, she was floating gracefully in the air, making her look even more mysterious and beautiful. In many cases, beauty was a peerless weapon. At least that was the case for now. The countless mermaid warriors around were all captivated by the beauty of the mermaid queen. They knelt down in the water, their eyes filled with endless fanaticism and admiration. The mermaid queen's voice was gentle but cold. People of the Masha Empire, we should have died more than 10,000 years ago. We should have become a pile of stones. The mermaid queen said. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian remembered that in the underwater maze of the Sea Snake Empire, countless sea snakes turned into stones in an instant. It was the Naga's powerful spiritual master, Medusa. Anyone, any creature, as long as they were hit by her gaze, they would turn into stone in an instant. However, the supreme goddess Medusa, at the moment when she wanted to kill us, she felt pity. She betrayed the will of the Naga Empire and gave us the hope of living. Betrayed the Naga Empire? This goddess Medusa, why would she be merciful at such a crucial time? She did not destroy the Mermaid Empire, of course, it was a betrayal. And in New Naga, Yang Dingtian learned that there was a Naga that betrayed the collective will. She did not choose to commit suicide and turn into a powerful force to create a sealed space in New Naga. Instead, she escaped from the Naga Empire before the Great Nirvana was destroyed. She also took a space ring. Was this Naga that betrayed the Mermaid Empire the same Queen Medusa that did not exterminate the Mermaid Empire? Was she Shimin-Ningning's mother? Yang Dingtian could not help but touch his own space ring. This was the only space ring that the Naga Empire had leaked. It originally belonged to Shimin-Ningning, so this deduction was 90% correct. Shimin-Ningning was the descendant of the goddess Medusa. The incomparably powerful goddess Medusa was the only Naga that betrayed the Mermaid Empire. Yang Dingtian was speechless. This sister Ningning's background was really not ordinary. She was not ordinary. This feeling was strange. The most powerful boss had been by his side from the beginning. The Mermaid Queen continued her speech. We were lucky to survive, but our entire empire was enveloped and surrounded by the dark matter. There was no space for us to escape. Countless years have passed. Our ancestors, generation after generation, gave everything they had in order to resist the invasion of the dark matter. But they were still unable to stop the arrival of destruction. Our empire shrank from 100,000 miles to 80,000 miles, and then to 50,000 miles. Now, 10,000 years have passed, and our empire is less than 20,000 miles. Our people, because they did not have enough space to live, have shrunk to only 30% of their original size. Following the Mermaid Queen's speech, countless mermaid warriors present shed tears. In these 10,000 years, fear and despair had almost completely enveloped the entire Mermaid Empire. Countless mermaids could only watch as their land fell inch by inch. Countless mermaids could only watch as their homeland was devoured inch by inch. Their living space was getting smaller and smaller. Everyone knew that the end of the world was coming. Thus, everyone was waiting for the end of the world. We have already exhausted all our efforts, but we are still unable to prevent the end of destruction. The end of the Mermaid Empire is coming again. Today it is today. Our Mermaid Empire's territory is only 19,356 miles. In another 155 days, the end of the world will come. Because when the Mermaid Empire's territory is less than 18,000 miles, the entire energy balance will instantly collapse. The entire Mermaid Empire will instantly collapse. At that time, our Mermaid Empire will be enveloped by the dark matter and undergo a huge destruction. At that time, there will be no survivors. Yang Dingtian was immediately shocked. The fate of the Mermaid Empire was actually only 155 days away. It turned out that the dark matter did not completely devour the Mermaid Empire before it was destroyed. Instead, when the space was less than a certain number, it would cause the energy to tear and destroy. In 155 days, it will be our end. This time has already been calculated more than 1,000 years ago. That day will be our doomsday. Yang Dingun suddenly felt that whether it was the imprisoned mermaids or mermaids around him, they were all filled with sorrow and despair. When we are faced with despair, when we can only welcome the end of the world, the great goddess Medusa has once again guided us in a new direction. More than 100 years ago, she sent a messenger, a human. This human is the king of humans, the servant of the great queen Medusa, the demon king Wenin. The human king Wentian found a way to break out of the encirclement of the dark matter. Moreover, he has guided us in a new direction. That is, the human kingdom, which has hundreds of thousands of miles of empty sea, can become our new home. As the Mermaid Queen's voice fell, suddenly, the entire king city was in an uproar. Long live, long live, long live. Countless mermaids raised their arms and cheered wildly. Countless mermaids had tears in their eyes. Yang Dingtian could understand their feelings. No one was willing to watch their own destruction, no one was helpless to welcome the end of the world. A new home, a new hope, this made people's blood boil. Just like Yang Dingtian, didn't he do his best to save the world in order to resist the end of the world? Wasn't it to let the civilization continue? However, at this time, the continuation of the Mermaid Empire's civilization was indeed at the price of the destruction of the human kingdom. The Mermaid Queen continued, "More than 100 years ago, I signed a great treaty with the human king Wenyin. Our Mermaid Empire will help the human king Wenyin take back the throne that belongs to him. The human king Wenyin ceded 100,000 miles of sea to our Mermaid Empire as our eternal home. Now, it's time to fulfill the treaty." The Mermaid Queen's voice suddenly rose. Suddenly, her hands condensed a pair of energy blades. "I order all the warriors of the Mermaid Empire, all the races of the Mermaid Empire to gather and help the Demon King Wenyin to take back the human kingdom, sweep away the Tiando League, and fulfill the great treaty. Long live, long live, long live. Kill, kill, kill." Countless mermaids waved the ice blades in their hands crazily. Countless giant beasts let out earth-shattering roars. Only Yang Dingtian felt a chill run down his spine. This was the most powerful navy in history. This was a navy that the human kingdom could not resist at all. Finally, as the representatives of the Demon King Wenyin, the Queen Devil Queen and the Mermaid Queen held their hands high, representing the great treaty between the Mermaid Empire and the Temple of Annihilation. All the troops of the Mermaid Empire begin to reorganize. Once the gate of reincarnation opens, immediately enter the human kingdom. Boom, boom, boom. In response to the Mermaid Queen, tens of millions of sea race troops let out battle cries. In this declaration before the battle, Yang Dingtian understood a few things. The Demon King Wentian's backer was indeed the ancient Naga that defected, the incomparably powerful Medusa. At the same time, she was also Shimin Ningning's mother, so she could be considered his mother-in-law. However, what exactly was the gate of reincarnation that she mentioned? Was it the gate of darkness that Yang Dingtian had entered? One must know that this so-called gate of darkness was named by Yang Dingtian himself. Previously, he had even named this place the Empire of Darkness. There was another doubt, and that was the Legion of Doom formed by the Maori barbarians. Looking at the densely packed army in front of him, there was only the army of the Mermaid Empire. There was also another question. Wenyin had come to the Mermaid Empire more than 100 years ago. However, the entire Mermaid Empire was surrounded by darkness, so how did he enter? Yang Dingtian noticed that after the Mermaid Queen finished her declaration, the Queen Devil Queen did not stay and immediately left. Moreover, she left towards the west, not the gate of darkness that Yang Dingtian had entered. Did that mean that there were other things in the west? Suddenly, Yang Dingtian could not help but have a thought. Could he change the Mermaid Queen's will? This was because the situation was completely different from what he had imagined. First of all, he could confirm that the evil ways did not have their own navy. Instead, they completely relied on the Mermaid Empire's marine army. As for the army, it should be the Legion of Doom of the evil ways. Although Yang Dingtian did not know where the Legion of Doom was, it should not be far away. However, without the Mermaid Empire's navy, the Legion of Doom's army would be useless no matter how strong it was. They would not be able to fly across the vast ocean and attack the human kingdoms. Therefore, if he could stop the alliance between the Mermaid Empire and the evil ways, would it mean that he could eliminate the Legion of Doom's navy? Then, how could he stop the alliance between the Mermaid Empire and the evil ways? Was it possible to do that? Of course, the key was the Mermaid Queen. This was an extremely centralized empire, and the Mermaid Queen could almost decide everything. Moreover, the influence of the evil ways in the Mermaid Empire was very weak. For the Mermaid Queen, the one who saved the Mermaid Empire, Queen Medusa, was the supreme god in her heart. Therefore, Shimin Ningning must have a very high position in the Mermaid Queen's heart. Then, as Shimin Ningning's husband, did Yang Dingtian have some kind of advantage? Or even more shameless? When the Demon King Wenyin entered the Mermaid Empire, he claimed that he was the emissary of Queen Medusa. Then perhaps Yang Dingtian had even more reason to do so. Yang Dingtian did not know what token the Demon King went in used to prove his identity as the emissary of Queen Medusa. However, all the tokens could not compare to the space ring in Yang Dingtian's hand. This space ring was something that only the 10 most powerful royal families of the Naga Empire had. The one in Yang Dingtian's hand belonged to Queen Medusa. Therefore, this space ring was completely unique and could completely represent Queen Medusa's identity. Then, could Yang Dingtian pretend to be the emissary of Queen Medusa and meet the Queen of the Mermaid Empire? Suddenly, Yang Dingtian could not help but feel restless. Without a doubt, this was a very, very risky move. Once exposed, there was almost no possibility of escape. However, if he succeeded, he could directly turn the tide and save the situation. Yang Dingtian was 100% sure that it was impossible for the current human navies to defeat the sea tribe of the Mermaid Empire. In front of these countless ancient giant beasts, the warships of the Council of Light, no matter how big they were like toys. The risk was very, very high, but it was definitely worth a try. If he failed, he might have the most despicable move. That was, if Yang Dingtian could make the Naga and the Naga go into heat, then what about the mermaid race? Of course, this was the most despicable move. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and immediately went into hiding in the iron cage. Then he quietly waited for the right time to sneak into the Mermaid Empire's capital, Shajing, and secretly meet the Queen of the Mermaid Empire. Hopefully, this huge risk was worth it. Chapter 9:14. Lady Death Concubine will be here in half a day. I hope you can hit her body with a bigger lightning bolt. Do you understand? When the Mermaid Queen said this, she didn't show any friendliness. Instead, her eyes were filled with a demonic gaze. It seemed like she wanted to torment the Queen Devil Queen a little. Their relationship wasn't as harmonious as expected. Suddenly, a question appeared in Yang Dingtian's mind. Would the Devil Queen, the dead princess, be able to recognize him? First of all, she had only met Yang Dingtian once. That was 5 or 6 years ago, and it was very short. At that time, Yang Dingtian was very weak and didn't have any special aura. However, Yang Dingtian had the 9 Yang Shen veins. Moreover, she had a human aura. Perhaps it would be difficult to hide from the Queen Devil Queen who was also a human. Moreover, meeting the leader of the evil ways here was a very risky thing to do. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian shook her head and said, "No, I won't do it." Hearing this, the Mermaid Queen's eyes narrowed and said, "Do you know the consequences of disobeying my orders? You are just an animal. You are nothing." Yang Dingtian still shook her head and said, "No, I won't do it. Give me a reason. Otherwise, you are dead." The Mermaid Queen said, I will only electrocute you." Yang Dingtian used a very direct and stupid way to express his point of view. The Mermaid Queen's eyes narrowed and she raised her beautiful face and said, "Idiot, I will say it again. In my heart, you are just an animal. Don't have any random thoughts. I can tell you that I don't have a good impression of the Queen Devil Queen. Therefore, I want to see her make a fool of herself. I want to see her vulgar appearance. So, will you do it or not?" Then, the Mermaid Queen said, "If you don't do it, you will most likely die." Yang Dingtian still said, "I will only electrocute you. You are courting death." The Mermaid Queen's eyes turned cold and she said, "Li Daoji, give him 100 light whips." The great commander of the Mermaid Queen's internal guards, the commander of the Lightning Corps, Li Daoji, walked in. When she was outside in the water, her lower body was a fishtail. Once she entered the royal city, her lower body transformed into a pair of slender and voluptuous legs. Her legs were so sexy that they made people suffocate. Her tight-fitting blue-gold armor only covered her thighs. Her legs were only covered by faintly discernible golden stockings. She was still hot and sexy, yet cold as ice. Her gorgeous face was still filled with a piercing aura. Coupled with her short blue hair, she was like an unsheathed sharp sword. The corner of Li Daoji's mouth revealed a trace of coldness, then suddenly came in and pulled Yang Dingtian out. The hot and sexy Li Daoji used all her strength to whip Yang Dingtian. That's right, she wanted to beat Yang Dingtian to death. because the queen was addicted to this lowly demon eel man. Last time, she did not manage to kill this demon eel man. This time, she took the opportunity to kill him. Pa 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 pa. The light whip was a type of energy whip. When it hit a person's body, the skin would not break and the blood would not flow. But that kind of pain was completely like hell. The damage to the shin meridians and the body's internal organs was incomparably huge. Yang Dingtian did not use any shen qi to resist and took 100 light whips. Moreover, from the beginning to the end, he did not let out a scream. In the end, he almost did not make any sound. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and then lay on the ground, dying. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. After the beating, Li Daoji immediately turned and left. She did not care whether Yang Dingtian, this demon eel man, was dead or not, because she was getting more and more worried about the queen's addiction. That afternoon, the Queen Devil Queen once again came to the Mermaid Empire's royal city to inform the queen that the Empire of Darkness's army had begun to assemble. Once they were completely assembled, the gate of reincarnation would be opened. At that time, countless Legion of Doom and Mermaid Empire's army would surge out and engulf the human countries. Moreover, the Queen Devil Queen invited the Queen of Mermaid to go to the Temple of Annihilation in the Infernal Ocean to attend Prince Li Ming's wedding ceremony. At the same time, it was also the ceremony to declare war on the human countries. At night, Yang Dingtian was still lying on the floor of the room, not moving at all. Soon, the door was opened and a figure floated in and helped Yang Dingtian's body up. With a charming fragrance, the owner of this body was obviously the Queen of Mermaid. She stuffed a pill into Yang Dingtian's mouth and then left. The fragrance lingered in the air. This pill was very miraculous, especially when it healed the injuries of the energy whip. Soon, a warm aura enveloped Yang Dingtian's body and he immediately felt incomparably comfortable. At this moment, Yang Dingtian had already made up his mind. He would take down the Queen of the Mermaid Empire and cut off an arm of the Legion of Doom, completely losing the Sea Race army. As for what method he would use, he was really sorry. Although it was not open and above board, he was not the one who started it. The next day, Yang Dingtian, who had recovered from his injuries, was once again summoned to the Queen's palace. However, when he entered this time, he was not wearing a mask and his eyes were not covered. Moreover, the Queen of Mermaid did not ask Yang Dingtian to strike her with lightning. Instead, it was as if she was waiting for someone else. The door was pushed open and Fierce Knife Princess walked in. After entering, she glanced at Yang Dingtian with eyes that were filled with fury and killing intent. She had already used all her strength and wanted to kill this demon eel bastard. How was he still alive? I only asked you to punish him. Why do you want to kill him? The Queen of Mermaid questioned. Fierce Knife Princess said, I don't want to see Her Majesty become addicted to him. The Queen of Mermaid said calmly, since you made a mistake, you have to be punished. Take off your armor. Instantly, the Fierce Blade Princess's expression changed, and she said, Your Majesty. Obey my orders. The Queen of Mermaid said, anyway, as the leader of my internal guards, you can never marry. Your innocence is useless. Give it to him. As your punishment, and also as his compensation. When she said this, the Queen of Mermaid's eyes were filled with madness. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was even more certain that the Queen of Mermaid's heart was really perverted. From asking Yang Dingtian to strike her with lightning, to asking Yang Dingtian to strike the Queen Devil Queen and embarrass the Devil Queen. Now, she actually asked her internal guard leader to give her innocence to a demon eel bastard. This Queen of Mermaid, from the inside out, was filled with the desire to destroy. My queen, do you really want to do this? Fierce Knife Princess gritted her teeth. Yes, I really want to do this. The Queen of Mermaid's eyes were even more fervent, as if she was waiting to watch a show. Yang Dingtian stood up again and said, I won't do it. This is an order. The Queen of Mermaid said. I won't do an order either. I will only strike you. Yang Dingtian walked out again. But soon, he found that his body was completely immobile. He was completely enveloped. Although he could show that he had lowered his cultivation level. The Queen of Mermaids still used the energy field to suppress his body. Saint level. She was really above the saint level. Yang Dingun was shocked. Then, the Queen of Mermaid waved her hand and directly threw Yang Dingtian to the ground. Then, she said to Fierce Knife Princess, "Go, carry out your orders, my pure and holy maiden." When she said, "pure and holy maiden," her words were full of sarcasm. Fierce Knife Princess gritted her teeth and took off her armor. Under the Queen of Mermaid's orders, she used the most direct method to destroy her innocence on Yang Dingtian's body. Everything was over very quickly. The Queen of Mermaid watched from the side as if her perverted mind was satisfied. Then she waved her hand and said, "All right, you can all leave." Fierce Knife Princess rushed out immediately and covered her mouth as if she was trying to suppress the urge to vomit. As for Yang Dingtian, he regained his ability to move. He looked at the Queen of Mermaid deeply and walked out as well. Back in his room, Yang Dingtian evaluated the Queen of Mermaid again. He had underestimated her perverted nature. This woman was completely temperamental and had a dark mentality that destroyed everything beautiful. Therefore, she might have attacked the human countries because of this dark mentality. She had been suppressed by the end of the Mermaid Empire for too long and could not see any beautiful countries. The human countries were living so beautifully. She might be very uncomfortable in her heart and have a strong urge to destroy. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian doubted the necessity of his plan. At this time, Yang Dingtian could walk around freely in the palace. This huge palace was very empty. There was only the Queen of Mermaid and her inner guards. Yang Dingtian climbed to the highest point of the palace and looked to the west. That was the Empire of Darkness where the Queen Devil Queen often came and went. Just as Yang Dingtian was looking to the west, he suddenly heard a burst of suppressed sobbing. He walked over and saw Fierce Knife Princess at the corner. She was naked and kneeling on the ground, crying bitterly in pain and humiliation. After crying, she began to wipe her scimitar over and over again. Then she aimed the scimitar at her heart and was about to stab it in. She wanted to commit suicide because she had been defiled by a lowly beast like the devil eel people, so she had to die. Pa! Yang Dingtian's lightning struck her scimitar away. Seeing Yang Dingtian, Fierce Knife Princess's beautiful eyes were filled with infinite hatred. She said coldly, "Don't force me to disobey orders and kill you. Do I have to die just because I'm a devil eel people?" Yang Dingtian asked. Fierce Knife Princess said, "Just like humans, after being defiled by pigs and dogs, shouldn't they die?" Yang Dingun was silent for a long time and said, "I'm sorry." "No, this has nothing to do with you." Fierce Knife Princess said, "This is my fate." Yang Dingun nodded and said, "I know, I can't persuade you, right? Can you persuade a human? Can a sea beast persuade a noble mermaid?" Fierce Knife Princess said, "Understood." Yang Dingtun suddenly struck down with a bolt of lightning. Pa! The lightning that surpassed the 14th level condensed into a small ball of light and directly knocked Fierce Knife Princess out. Then, he directly carried Fierce Knife Princess back to the Queen of Mermaid and said, "She wanted to commit suicide, I stopped her and knocked her out." The Queen of Mermaid suddenly looked at Yang Dingtan in shock and then looked at Fierce Knife Princess with eyes full of hatred and anger. She said, "Since you're so chaste, you're really amazing. Are you mocking me? Very good, very good." The Queen of Mermaid's voice changed a little. She looked at Fierce Knife Princess and said, "In that case, I'll give Mo Luo the devil eel people to you. Letting a noble mermaid become the wife of a lowly devil eel people will be very, very interesting, huh?" At this time, Fierce Knife Princess had just woken up. After hearing this sentence, she suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The Queen of Mermaids stepped forward and locked the veins of the leader of the internal guards, Fierce Knife Princess, and then smiled evilly at Yang Dingun. She said, "From now on, she's completely yours. You can do whatever you want. I'll only electrocute you." Yang Dingtian said. "Ignorant thing." The Queen of Mermaids sneered, then waved her hand and pushed Yang Dingtian and Fierce Knife Princess out. Fierce Knife Princess, whose veins were locked, was placed in her room by Yang Dingtian. She couldn't move at all and couldn't even commit suicide. Therefore, Yang Dingtian would be able to do anything he wanted. However, of course, he didn't do anything. Instead, he gave her a bath and changed her into a comfortable dress. This was the first time Fierce Knife Princess wore a dress instead of an armor. Of course, Fierce Knife Princess had short hair, so wearing a dress was a little strange. It also destroyed her unruly aura. After helping her put on her clothes, Yang Dingtian personally cooked a delicious meal and fed it to Fierce Knife Princess. Fierce Knife Princess didn't even have the strength to stop Yang Dingtian and could only let him stuff the food into her mouth. After taking a bite, she was stunned. It was actually a delicacy that she had never eaten before. In the next 2 days, Yang Dingtian took care of her very gently, so much so that the ice in Fierce Knife Princess's beautiful eyes melted a little. The Queen of Mermaid didn't summon him, so other than taking care of Fierce Knife Princess, he spent most of his time meditating and drawing complicated things on a piece of fish skin paper. At this time, Yang Dingtian's plan in the Mermaid Empire was getting deeper and deeper. Now, he didn't just want to destroy the alliance between the Mermaid Empire and the evil ways. He even wanted to make the entire Mermaid Empire his ally and deal a fatal blow to the evil ways Legion of Doom. Because he found out again. The Queen of Mermaid's paranoia and perversion might not be a bad thing. Because such a person didn't care about the consequences and only cared about what she liked. Moreover, she wasn't very friendly to the Queen Devil Queen. If he could take her down, then everything would be twice the result with half the effort. Not only would he directly cut off the Legion of Doom's navy, but on the contrary, Yang Dingtian would have an incomparably powerful force in his hands. The best result would be when the Legion of Doom started the war, the Mermaid Empire would directly betray them and deal a fatal blow. That scene would be too beautiful. He believed that it would make the evil ways suffer so much that they would wish they were dead. Of course, the only prerequisite for all of this was to take down the Queen of Mermaid. This queen's personality was a bit perverted. Therefore, Yang Dingtian only had one mission now, and that was to conquer her. Although she was really crazy and neurotic, Yang Dingtian really needed a saint-level powerhouse like her. And the Fierce Knife Princess in front of him might be able to help him. Conquering the Queen of Mermaid, conquering the Mermaid Empire, perhaps it would start with this Fierce Knife Princess in front of him. However, at this moment, Fierce Knife Princess suddenly opened her eyes and looked at Yang Dingtian. She said, "You're not the demon eel. Or you?" Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be stunned. He didn't feel that there were any flaws at all. How did she recognize him? These people's intuition was actually so sharp? To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. For mobile users, please go to Chidian.com to read. That you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.